Introduction. The noise of the slaves. We live in the loudest, most pathetic and desperate era in human history. We are going through a pandemic of overexposure, where the masses compete savagely for crumbs of attention. Open your eyes and look at your surroundings. Society is a cheap market full of slaves screaming for someone to look at them. They give away their mystery in exchange for an ephemeral and empty like. They document every tear, every failure, and every mediocre thought on their screens. They beg for external validation like junkies pleading for a cheap dose of three-dimensional dopamine. They believe that if they make more noise, they will be respected. They believe that if they speak faster or strip themselves emotionally before everyone, the holographic world will finally love and respect them. That is the exact tactic of the court jester. The jester jumps, juggles, sweats, and screams to entertain others. The jester lacks authority. His only tool is desperate noise. Admit the truth. You have played the jester. You have given away your quantum capital by giving unasked-for explanations, justifying your decisions, and begging for the approval of sleeping avatars. You were programmed with a disgusting lie, believing that silence is weakness. They taught you that you must defend yourself loudly. They taught you that if you do not expose your life, the world is going to forget you and crush you. What a ridiculous concept. That is the philosophy of victims who are terrified of the vacuum of their own minds. The physics of the universe teaches us a much darker, denser, and more lethal truth. Observe the architecture of the cosmos. The loudest, hottest, and brightest stars end up exploding into supernovas and disappearing into dust. Their excess brilliance is their own condemnation. But there exists a superior and terrifying entity in the universe, the black hole. It does not emit a single photon of light. It makes no noise. It is absolute darkness and sepulchral silence. However, it possesses a mass so infinitely dense that it has control over the entire system. The black hole does not chase planets. It does not chase light. It remains absolutely immobile. It is its monstrous gravity that attracts entire galaxies toward its center. It attracts them effortlessly, without moving, forcing all matter to orbit around it by pure electromagnetic inertia. That is the magnetism of silence. It is the art of becoming so dense, so secure in your own self-concept as a king, that you do not need to move a physical muscle to dominate your empire. When you talk too much, you dilute yourself. Every unnecessary word you spit out of your mouth is a leak of your vital energy. By speaking so much, you become predictable, ordinary, and very cheap. But when you close your mouth, you become an anomaly for the matrix. Pure silence terrifies the primitive ego of humans. At the same time, it hypnotizes them and subdues them without remedy. This book is the guillotine for your need for public validation. You're going to learn to use absence, the void, and muteness as weapons of attraction of maximum lethality. You're going to stop chasing clients, begging partners, and pleading for opportunities. Starting today, the supply of your words is reduced to zero, and your market value becomes infinite. The jester has died of exhaustion. It is time for the silent predator to occupy the main chair. Close your mouth, anchor your gravity, and prepare to govern. Chapter 1. The Economy of Attention. Welcome to the most ruthless, invisible, and brutal market in the entire three-dimensional universe. Welcome to the economy of attention. You have been deceived into believing that fiat money, dollars or gold, are the world's most valuable currency. That is a lie for low-level slaves. The true money of the Matrix, the legal tender that sustains the structure of the holographic universe, is your attention, your electromagnetic focus. Wherever you place your attention, you collapse the wave function. Where you place your focus, you inject quantum blood. Your attention is the oxygen that keeps 3D illusions alive. Every time you look at something, you feed it. Every time you listen to someone, you transfer volts from your own vital battery. Your attention is your life literalized in seconds. And the greatest tragedy of your current existence is that you are giving away this sacred currency like a drunken beggar throwing bills in the street. The law of supply and demand applied to your soul. Let's apply basic economics to your social and spiritual behavior. The fundamental law of the market dictates that the value of an asset is determined by its scarcity. If gold were as abundant as desert sand, gold would be worth absolutely nothing. No one would pay for it. People would step on it while walking without noticing. What is scarce, what is hard to get, what requires effort and sacrifice to be obtained, that is what the human brain automatically classifies as luxury. Now, look at your behavior with the people around you. Look at how you interact with your partner, with your clients, with your friends, and with your social networks. You are desert sand. You are the most abundant, predictable, and cheap thing that exists in their ecosystem. Your supply is so grotesquely high that your demand has fallen to zero. The disease of immediate availability. You have a tracking device in your pocket that has turned you into an electronic slave. Your cell phone. When it rings, your reptilian brain jumps like a trained dog. You receive a text from someone you like or from a client, and you immediately stop what you were doing. You interrupt your sacred work to respond. You respond in 3 seconds. You are demonstrating that you were waiting for their validation. You are screaming to their subconscious, "My time is worth nothing. My life is empty. You are my priority." And what does the other person do? At first, they like your speed, but within a few days, their predatory instinct gets bored. They feel they have already hunted you. They feel they have you secured. When you are 100% predictable, when you are always available to go out, to talk, or to listen to their problems, you become just another piece of furniture in their house. No one respects a furniture. They use it when needed, then ignore it. The inflation of your words. In economics, when a central bank prints bills without control, money loses its purchasing power. This is called hyperinflation. The bill no longer buys anything. You suffer from verbal hyperinflation. You talk too much. You are terrified of awkward silences in a conversation. If there is a 5-second pause, you get nervous and spit out random words. You tell your whole life to people you just met. You explain your childhood traumas on the first date. You reveal your business strategies to competitors disguised as friends. You think by talking a lot you are connecting with them. You think you are being authentic, transparent, and vulnerable. You have been sold the story that extreme vulnerability is a virtue. Indiscriminate vulnerability is a tactical suicide. It is handing over the blueprints of your castle and the keys to your safe to an army of barbarians who have shown no loyalty. The luxury boutique versus the flea market. Visualize the difference between entering a flea market and entering a Rolex or Ferrari boutique. The psychology of the space is radically different. In the flea market, there is noise. There are thousands of items piled up. Sellers scream at you, chase you, offer aggressive discounts and beg you to buy something. In the flea market, the seller is desperate, and you as a buyer feel the power to haggle, to humiliate, and to pay as little as possible for the product. Now enter a luxury boutique. There is silence. There is a lot of empty space. There are only 3 watches on display, lit like works of art. No one screams at you. The salesperson, impeccably dressed, looks at you from a distance. They don't chase you. They don't offer discounts. Their silence tells you, if you have to ask the price, you don't belong here. In the luxury boutique, the buyer feels intimidated. They feel the need to prove they are worthy of the product. The store has the power. What kind of store are you? 99% of humanity operates like an emotional flea market. They chase their ex-partners begging for attention. They haggle over their own value by accepting mistreatment just to not be alone. They offer their loyalty, their body, and their time at fire sale prices. They live in permanent liquidation. And then they complain that the world only sends them stingy clients and abusive partners. The sovereign creator becomes an ultra-luxury boutique. He closes the doors to the general public. His aura is silent, spacious, and deeply intimidating. The sovereign does not chase, he does not discount his standards. He does not beg for attention. If someone is not willing to pay the full price of his excellence in loyalty and respect, he points them to the exit door, and the perverse magic of human psychology kicks in. When you become inaccessible and silent, humans go crazy. They take out their emotional savings and pay anything to have you. The terror of physical disappearance. The ego is terrified of being forgotten. That's why you post compulsively on social media. You upload stories of what you eat, where you are, and who you're talking to. You're afraid that if you spend a week without uploading anything, the world will forget you. You have terror of ceasing to exist in the minds of others. That is your level of holographic slavery. Why do you think the most magnetic and iconic celebrities in the world disappear for months or years? They appear, launch a masterpiece, break the market, and hide back in the shadows. They generate a massive thirst in the public. They force people to speculate and extrañarlos. They force the world to wonder where they are. They use absence as a quantum marketing tool of maximum lethality. Starting today, you will ration your presence with military cruelty. Stop posting every thought that crosses your mediocre mind. Stop updating the sleeping on your life. Become a mystery. The asymmetry of interest, the iron law. In any dynamic between two human beings, business, friendship, or romance, the absolute power lies with the person who needs the other less. It is the iron law of interest asymmetry. The one who has less fear of losing dominates the relationship. The one willing to get up from the table and walk away in silence keeps the loot. If you are terrified of your partner leaving you, your body language will scream that need. You will become people-pleasing. You will accept disrespect. You will talk too much to calm their anger. Your partner will smell the fear. And since humans are biological animals that instinctively despise weakness, they will lose respect. Love dies the same day respect dies. But if you adopt the magnetism of silence, the dynamic reverses. If your partner makes an absurd drama, you do not argue. You do not justify yourself. You simply stay quiet, look at them with boredom, and go read a book. By finding no resistance, their ego falls into a void. The withdrawal of the energy supply. Everyone out there is an attention vampire. People post provocative photos waiting for your comments. They send you ambiguous messages waiting for you to make the effort to decipher them. They live by sucking small doses of your interest. The sovereign identifies these vampires and applies the supreme punishment. The supreme punishment is the tactical withdrawal of supply. If someone writes you a message seeking attention or looking for a fight, the most destructive weapon is not an insult. The most destructive weapon is the read receipt. The two blue check marks. The sepulchral silence. Leaving them on read is a statement of power. Fair estás diciendo, I saw your pathetic attempt to steal my energy. I recognize you, but I judge you unworthy of receiving a single calorie from my thumbs. The vampire will enter agony. By not receiving your reaction, their ego starves. They will try to provoke you again with more aggressiveness. You hold the line. The paradox of listening to destroy. The magnetism of silence is not just for not speaking. It is for listening with predatory intentions. The slave listens to respond. The sovereign listens to scan for weaknesses. When you sit at a business table or on a romantic date, you apply the 80-20 rule. They talk 80% of the time, you talk 20%. You ask a calculated question. Lean back in your chair, maintain eye contact, and let the other speak. The silence you place on the table is an empty space the other person will feel the need to fill. Out of pure social anxiety, the other will start talking too much. They will reveal insecurities and hidden complexes. While they expose themselves, giving away their source code, you remain safe in the shadows. You are a sniper hidden in the brush, observing an enemy soldier dancing with neon lights. At the end, you know everything about them, and they know nothing real about you. They will perceive you as deep, wise, and mysterious. Silence as a quality filter. The economy of attention also acts as a natural filter to expel mediocrity from your hologram. Low vibrational people are terrified of silence. Cheap minds need constant stimuli. They need gossip, loud music, alcohol, and trivial conversations about the weather or other people's problems. If you decide to become a practitioner of silence, those people will flee from you. They will call you boring. They will say you have become weird or antisocial. They will isolate you from their pathetic WhatsApp groups. Celebrate that expulsion. Silence is the acid that dissolves false relationships. By refusing to participate in the noise, the trash takes itself out. You are left with a much smaller but titanium inner circle. Only high-level creators can sit in a room together for hours, in absolute silence, without feeling the slightest discomfort. That is the litmus test of quantum royalty. The conservation of creative energy. Let's take this to the realm of pure metaphysics. The law of assumption requires that you saturate your subconscious mind with the emotion of the wish fulfilled. It requires a vivid and concentrated imagination. That process consumes an immense amount of electromagnetic energy. Your brain is the most powerful graphics processor in the universe, and manifestation requires that you use all available RAM. If you spend your daily energy complaining about your boss, debating politics, or explaining your decisions to your family, you are exhausting the battery you need to build your empire. You reach the night, try to do your visualization before sleeping, and your mind is dry. You are exhausted. You fall asleep in 2 minutes without having impregnated the subconscious. The creator fails not because the law doesn't work, but because he spent his budget on three-dimensional nonsense during the day. The tactical vow of silence. You have to implement periods of tactical vow of silence in your life. Entire days in which you speak the minimum indispensable to survive in society. If you go to buy a coffee, you say, "Good morning, a black coffee, thank you." End. You don't tell anecdotes to the cashier, you don't make jokes to be liked. In the office, you respond with monosyllables. Yes. No. It's resolved. You refuse to participate in the hallway drama. You wrap yourself in an aura of icy untouchability. You will notice a fascinating biological phenomenon. After 3 days of not wasting your words, you will feel an electric pressure in your chest. You will feel dense, heavy, and overflowing with raw energy. Your mind will become sharp like a scalpel. Your manifestations will accelerate to an absurd speed, because the energy that used to leak through your mouth is now being channeled 100% by your pineal gland and your electromagnetic field. The emancipation from applause. The last link in the economy of attention is total emancipation from external applause. You used to post and speak because you wanted the hologram to applaud you. You sought the pat on the back. You sought someone to tell you how smart you are, what a good job you did, and what a good person you are. You were a beggar of praise. The unbreakable monster does not need the cinema screen to applaud him. He is the damn projector. He applauds himself in the machine room, and that is more than enough for him. If you do a masterpiece or close $1 million deal, don't run to tell everyone. Shut your mouth. Guard the victory in secret during a month. Enjoy the taste of success in the deepest solitude. Learning not to share your victories is the highest level of mastery of ego control. It proves that you are the only source of validation you respect. You become bulletproof and praise-proof. The implosion of the needy ego. The price of your energy has multiplied by 10,000. You have taken your shares off the public market and privatized your spiritual company. No one has free access to your attention anymore. You have closed the flea market and opened the ultra-luxury boutique. People will start orbiting around you. Intrigued by your new posture, they will look at you out of the corner of their eye. They will wonder what you know that they don't. They will try to force you to speak. They will provoke you to try to get an emotional reaction and verify if you are still a slave. They will use a weapon to try to break you. They will demand that you justify yourself. They will ask for explanations for your new behavior. They will accuse you of being selfish, cold, or arrogant. The ego of others hates that you withdraw the supply. And when they demand an explanation, you will face the challenge of not justifying your existence. Chapter 2. The Vice of Justification. They have cornered you. Someone has just asked you a simple question that hides a deadly trap. They have asked you for a favor, demanded your time, or questioned a decision you made. You don't want to do it. Your instinct tells you no. Your energy is screaming for you to reject the offer. Then you open your mouth to say no, but you make the most humiliating mistake of your life. You add the cursed word. You say, no, because, and starting from that because, you begin to vomit a long, detailed, and nervous excuse so that the other person does not get angry with you. You tell them you are very busy. You explain that you have money problems. You tell them your head hurts or that your schedule is full. You crawl on the ground trying to get them to understand your motives. Welcome to the Matrix Tribunal. You have just handed the judge's gavel to a slave. You have voluntarily sat in the defendant's dock. The anatomy of submission. Justifying oneself is the universal language of the servant. It is the electromagnetic signature of inferiority. Kings do not justify themselves to peasants. They simply issue decrees. When you offer an explanation that no one forced you to give at gunpoint, you are subconsciously admitting something. You are admitting that the other person has authority over your time and your energy. You are saying, I recognize that I owe you obedience, so I offer you this excuse in the hope that you will forgive me for choosing my own life over yours. It is a pathetic act of submission. You have been brainwashed since childhood to believe that giving explanations is being polite. They taught you that saying no dryly is rude, that education is a mental control program. It is designed to keep the masses docile, predictable, and easy to manipulate through guilt. The terror of being the villain. Why do you justify yourself with such desperation? Because you are an addict to validation. Because you have a biological terror of others thinking poorly of you. You are afraid of being the villain in someone else's story. You want to be perceived as the good one, the understanding one, the loyal friend. Your ego is tied to the opinion of a handful of blind holograms. You prefer to betray your own energy, invent lies, and give exhausting explanations rather than endure the discomfort of someone calling you selfish. Listen to me with all the coldness of the universe. If you are not willing to be the villain in the hologram of the mediocre, you will never be the king in yours. The sovereign creator embraces the title of selfish. He wears it like a medal of honor. He knows that divine selfishness is the only real defense mechanism against attention vampires. No is a complete sentence. There is a weapon of mass destruction in human grammar. It is a word of only 2 letters. It requires no commas, it requires no ellipses, and it certainly does not require a because behind it. It is the word no. No is a grammatically complete and metaphysically absolute sentence. When someone invites you somewhere you don't want to go, your response must be no thank you. Full stop. You do not say no thank you. It's just that I have a lot of work and my dog is sick. By giving the excuse, you are giving the vampire ammunition to refute you. If you say you have work, the vampire will say, but you can work tomorrow. If you say your head hurts, they will offer you a pill. They will corner you using your own excuses against you. But when you say no thank you and shut your mouth, the vampire crashes against a titanium wall. There are no arguments to refute. There is nothing to hold on to. You have disarmed them with the void. The art of disappointing others. To master the magnetism of silence, you have to develop an iron stomach for disappointing people. You have to learn to savor their frustration. When you do not give explanations, people get frustrated. Their ego demands to know why you are not obeying them. They will look at you with confusion. They will demand answers. They will say, but why don't you want to go? Or they will claim, why are you so distant lately? That is the critical moment. It is the bear trap you always fall into. The slave gives in to the pressure. The slave feels the discomfort and starts babbling excuses. The sovereign looks into the inquisitor's eyes, maintains an expressionless face and responds, because I don't want to. Or he responds, because I decided so. And then he closes his mouth again. That level of dryness terrifies the 3D world. It completely unbalances them. The person in front of you will feel a shiver down their spine. They will feel they are in front of a superior predator. The illusion of understanding. Your vice for justifying yourself is born from another trap of the ego, the addiction to being understood. You believe that if you explain your motives to your partner or your family with enough clarity, they will finally agree with you. You believe that if you show them your scars and logic, they will yield. You believe they will say, oh, now I understand everything. You have the right to act like this. You are delusional. No one out there wants to understand you. People only listen to your explanations to find the crack where they can push their own agenda. They only listen to find your weakness. Seeking the understanding of the 3D world is like asking a blind mirror to tell you how beautiful you are. The hologram has no capacity for understanding. It only has the capacity for reflection. When you renounce the need to be understood, you become free. When you accept that 99% of the world is going to misinterpret your actions and you decide that you don't give a damn, you become untouchable. The X-ray of the white lie. Observe the amount of energy you waste inventing white lies so as not to hurt the feelings of others. Someone offers you a mediocre business deal and you say, I'll think about it. Let me see my numbers. You know perfectly well that you are not going to do it. But you don't have the courage to say, I'm not interested. You prefer to maintain the illusion of courtesy. That white lie is an electromagnetic leak. You are keeping a timeline open in the quantum field. You are leaving a door ajar for that parasite to call you again next week. The sovereign does not use white lies because he is not afraid of the cold truth. The sovereign says, "It's not what I'm looking for, don't count on me." He cuts the timeline at the root. He cauterizes the wound instantly. People may be offended in the moment. They may call you dry or arrogant, but deep down, their reptilian brain will respect you 1,000 times more than the cowardly liar. Silence in the face of accusation. The highest level of this discipline is tested when you are under attack, when your partner, your boss, or a friend accuses you of something unfair, when they attack you with lies or exaggerations. The biological instinct is to jump to defend yourself. Your blood boils. You want to scream, "That's not true, I didn't do that. Let me explain how things really happened." The instant you start defending yourself with screams and explanations, you have lost the war. By defending yourself, you are validating the reality of their attack. You are recognizing that their opinion has enough weight to hurt you. The magnetism of silence demands a counterintuitive and disturbing response. When they attack you with fury, you stay absolutely still. You do not raise your voice, you do not defend yourself. You look at the accuser as a scientist would look at a laboratory rat having a tantrum in its cage. You let them scream. You let them expose all their poison. And when they finish and are out of breath waiting for your counterattack, you simply shrug, turn around and leave the room without saying a word. The implosion of the aggressor. Do you know what happens in the brain of an aggressor when their attack is received with deathly silence and an icy withdrawal? Their ego implodes. It collapses upon itself. The aggressor needs your defensive reaction to confirm that their attack was effective. By not giving them your reaction, their anger turns into terror. They will wonder, did he not care about anything I said? They will start to doubt themselves. The lack of your explanations will create such an immense void in their psyche that they will end up apologizing themselves just to regain contact with you. Defending oneself is the act of a commoner. The king does not step down from the throne to fight in the mud with the jester who insults him. The king simply yawns and sends the guards to remove the jester from the court. You are the king. Your silence is your Praetorian guard. Explanations and quantum manifestation. This rule of not justifying oneself does not only apply to your social relationships, it applies directly to your ability to manifest in the fifth dimension. Your relationship with the universe works the same. Many students spend their time justifying to the universe why they want what they want. They visualize millions of dollars and then say, "I want it to help my family and the poor." They try to convince God that their desires are noble and pure. They are afraid to ask for massive wealth for pure aesthetic and selfish pleasure. They think the universe will judge them. What cosmic stupidity! Infinite intelligence has no human morality. It does not care if you want a Ferrari to take sick people to the hospital or if you want it to show off to your enemies. The quantum field is a blind servant. It only responds to the density of your command, not the goodness of your excuses. The divine right without whys. You do not need a why to be immensely rich. You do not need a philanthropic excuse to have a perfect body. You do not need to justify your success to anyone in heaven or on earth. You deserve it simply because you said you want it. You deserve it because you are the operating and capricious consciousness of this hologram. Your simple desire is the only justification the universe demands. When you eliminate social and spiritual justifications from your life, you become a being of pure action. You become a laser. There is no fat in your language. There is no friction in your energy. You walk through the world taking what belongs to you with the tranquility of an owner checking his inventory. If someone asks why you are taking the gold, you don't even turn to look at them. The diet of words. To forge this habit, you have to undergo an extreme diet of words. You have to audit every sentence that comes out of your mouth in the next 24 hours. Every time you catch yourself about to give a because or an unsolicited explanation, you must physically bite your tongue. The biological pain will train your brain to shut up. If you arrive late to a meeting, the slave enters sweating and says, "Sorry, it's just that there was a lot of traffic. I left on time, but the dog escaped and..." No one believes you. You look pathetic and desperate. The sovereign enters the meeting, walks with a firm step toward his chair, sits down, looks at those present and says, "Thank you for waiting. Let's start." He doesn't ask for forgiveness. He does not give a single excuse. The psychological impact of that entrance is brutal. Comfort in others' discomfort. The transition from the talkative slave to the silent predator is going to hurt. You will feel an unbearable pressure in your chest when you say no and stay in silence. Your body will demand that you speak to break the tension. The silence will feel dense, heavy, and suffocating. You will feel the other person is judging you with their gaze. That discomfort is the fire of the forge. You have to learn to sit in the middle of that discomfort and smile. You have to learn to drink the tension of the environment as if it were a vintage wine. When the other person looks at you waiting for an explanation, return the gaze without blinking. Relax your shoulders. Hold the silence as if you were made of stone. You will see how the other person breaks first. You will see how they start to stutter. They will withdraw nervously. Mystery as an anti-failure shield. By eliminating justifications, you also eliminate the fear of public failure. If you don't explain your plans to anyone, if you don't justify yourself for changing course, no one can judge your falls. If you close a business without explaining, no one will know if you went bankrupt or just got bored. The lack of information keeps them in total ignorance, and ignorance breeds respect and fear. People respect what they cannot understand. People fear the black box of your mind because they do not know what machinery is hidden inside. Your family and mediocre friends will loathe this new version. You don't tell us anything anymore. You've become very cold. These are the complaints of a parasite that just realized the blood tap was turned off. Cutting the umbilical cord. Do not give in. Watch them complain from your soundproof throne. Your lack of explanations is the scalpel that cuts the last umbilical cord that tied you to the emotional dependence of the 3D world. You have emancipated yourself. You have stopped paying the justification tax. Every calorie of energy you used to spend on convincing others now stays within your quantum field, increasing your gravitational mass. You are heavier. You are more dangerous. You are no longer a flea market. You are a reinforced vault in the central bank of the universe. And now that you have learned to shut up to protect your energy, it is time to use silence as an attack weapon. It is time to leave the defensive posture and start hunting. Chapter 3: The Killer Pause. Hacking the nervous system of others and the art of silent attack. You have learned to close the gates of your castle. You have stopped giving pathetic explanations. You have reclaimed your energy by removing justifications from your vocabulary. That was your defensive phase. You learned to put on the armor and stop bleeding in front of the mediocre. You stopped the hemorrhage of your own value. But an empire is not conquered with shields alone. A king does not dominate the world simply by hiding behind a wall. The moment comes to draw the sword. Today, you are going to move to the tactical offensive. You are going to learn to use silence not as a refuge, but as a weapon of mass psychological destruction. You are going to learn to hack the central nervous system of any human being who stands before you. Welcome to the technique of the killer pause. The biology of the terror of the void. To dominate a human, you first have to understand their biological programming. The primitive brain, the reptilian brain, is designed to survive in the tribe. Thousands of years ago, if you were in the jungle and the tribe suddenly fell into absolute silence, it meant only one thing: a deadly predator was lurking in the shadows. Sudden silence triggers a biological alarm in the primate body. It injects cortisol. It accelerates the heart. It causes cold sweats and a visceral panic. The modern human has not evolved as much as they think. Their biological hardware is exactly the same. They still have a terror of the auditory vacuum in a social interaction. When there is a prolonged silence in a conversation, the slave feels that something is terribly wrong. They feel that the tribe is judging them. They feel the threat of the invisible predator. And to relieve that unbearable anxiety, the slave makes the biggest tactical mistake of their life. They open their mouth to fill the void. The hunter and the prey. The sovereign creator knows this neurological weakness and exploits it with millimetric cruelty. The sovereign is the invisible predator in the concrete jungle. In any interaction, whether it is $1 million negotiation, a couple's argument, or a sale, Power always falls to the person who feels most comfortable with silence. Whoever has the desperate need to speak to break the ice is the prey. Whoever leans back in their chair, breathes slowly, and observes the silence without blinking is the hunter. The killer. Pause is the deliberate and intentional execution of a prolonged silence, calculated to destabilize your opponent and force them to submit. It is not the nervous silence of someone who doesn't know what to say. It is the heavy, arrogant, and monstrously dense silence of someone who knows exactly what they are doing. The 10-second rule of ice. The technique is mathematically simple, but it requires three-dimensional nerves of steel to be executed. It is called the 10-second rule of ice. Someone asks you a difficult question, someone throws a veiled insult at you, or someone gives you a mediocre excuse for a job poorly done. The novice reacts in a millisecond. They defend themselves, attack, or accept the excuse. The novice is a robot programmed to return the tennis ball the instant it crosses the net. You are not going to return the ball. You are going to let the ball fall to the ground. When the person finishes speaking, you are going to close your mouth. You are going to look them directly in the eyes, and you are going to count mentally to 10. 1, 2, 3. Your face must be a mask of marble. 4, 5, 6. Your breathing must be undetectable. 7, 8, 9, 10. The implosion of the opponent. Do you know what happens in the physical world during those 10 seconds? Hell, for your opponent, those 10 seconds will feel like 10 hours of psychological torture. Upon reaching second 3, the person will expect your response. Upon reaching second 5, their reptilian brain will panic. They will think, did I say something wrong? By the time it reaches second 7, the electromagnetic tension in the room will be so dense it could be cut with a knife. The discomfort will be suffocating them alive. And between second 8 and 10, the prey will break. They will not withstand the pressure of the void. They will start talking to break the ice you froze. And here lies the dark magic of this technique. Everything they say after your killer pause will be against them. They will be hanging themselves with their own rope. The involuntary confession. The killer pause is the most potent truth serum on the planet. Elite interrogators from intelligence agencies use it daily to destroy the toughest criminals. If you suspect someone is lying to you, ask them a direct question. When they give you their false answer, do not accuse them of being a liar. Simply fix your gaze on their eyes and apply the 10 seconds of ice. The liar, terrified by your silence, will assume that you already know the truth. They will assume that your silence is a trap. And to try to fix their story, they will start giving more details. They will start justifying their lie. By talking too much, they will stumble. They will make logical errors. They will contradict themselves. They will end up confessing their own lie without you having had to raise your voice or move a finger. You were the stone wall. They were the car accelerating at 200 per hour toward you out of pure panic. Hacking financial negotiations. This technique will turn you into a lethal beast in the business world. In any negotiation, money invariably flows to the side of the table that remains in silence. Suppose you are selling your product, your company, or your services. The client asks you the price. You say $10,000, and you automatically apply the killer pause. The mediocre and starving salesperson says the price and then, terrified by their own audacity, starts talking. It's $10,000, but we can do a discount, or I'll split it into installments. The mediocre salesperson just spat on their own offer. They just demonstrated that they themselves do not believe their product is worth $10,000. They just gave away their power. The sovereign says, it is $10,000, and shuts their mouth. They stay looking at the client as if that price were the most normal and boring thing in the universe. The client will feel the gravitational weight of that pause. They will feel they are in front of an ultra-luxury item. The discomfort will force them to speak first, and the one who speaks first in a negotiation after a price loses. The stab of the denied discount. If the client tries to haggle and says, I have a budget of $7,000, can you lower the price? Do not respond with a logical argument about your production costs. Apply the pause. Look him in the eyes for 5 seconds. Let him feel the impertinence of his cheap offer. Let him feel he just insulted a king. And then, with a tone of voice extremely calm and slightly disappointed, say, no, and apply the silence again. Do not say, "I can't." That implies weakness. Do not say, "I don't want to." That implies emotional arrogance. Say simply, "No." That deathly silence will force the client to take out their credit card and pay the original $10,000, or it will force them to withdraw with a crushed ego, knowing they were not at the level of your empire. Both are victories for you. Disarming verbal aggression. The killer pause is the ultimate deflector shield against attacks of rage, shouting, and lack of respect. When someone raises their voice to you, their goal is to pull you out of your center of gravity. They want you to shout back. They want to drag you into the mud of their own low frequency. If you get angry and shout back, they win. They have managed to control you like a puppet. When your partner, your boss, or a stranger shouts at you, do exactly the opposite of biology. Physically relax all the muscles in your face. Loosen your jaw. Blink slowly. Let their shout hit you and slide off like water on Teflon. When they finish shouting and are red with rage, apply the prolonged pause. Stare at them. Scan their face as if you were observing a strange bug in a zoo. Do not show anger, show clinical boredom and a slight cold compassion. The mirror of ridicule. What happens in their mind during that pause? Suddenly the echo of their own shouts resounds in their head. By not finding your aggressive reaction that justifies their anger, they feel completely ridiculous. They realize they are having a childish tantrum in front of a titanium statue. Shame will flood them. Their anger will transform into humiliation in a matter of seconds. After the 10-second pause, when the tension is unbearable for them, you can execute the finishing blow with a single phrase pronounced in an icy whisper. Are you finished? Or even more lethal, let me know when you're ready to speak like an adult. And you turn around and leave the room without giving them time to respond. You have decapitated them emotionally. You have demonstrated a mastery of space and emotional state so obscenely superior they will never dare raise their voice again. The pause in Seduction and Magnetism. Not everything is war and destruction. The killer pause has a parallel application in the art of extreme seduction. Silence is the largest amplifier of sexual and magnetic tension that exists. The slave on a romantic date talks non-stop because they are afraid to be boring. They try to impress. The magnetic predator uses silence to create mystery. In the middle of a conversation, the sovereign simply stops talking. They lean back, and they stare fixedly into the eyes of their target. That silence is not uncomfortable. It is dense, charged, and electric. The target will feel the pressure of your gaze. They will feel that you are reading their soul. Their heart will accelerate not out of fear but out of desire and anticipation. High-value individuals instinctively despise the person who tries too hard to please, but they become addicted to the person who has the courage to look at them in silence. The control of body language. The killer pause will fail miserably if your mouth is closed, but your body is screaming panic. Verbal silence must be accompanied by absolute reptilian stillness. If you are in silence, but you are moving your leg nervously or drumming your fingers, the opponent will read your weakness. True silence is physical. Your hands must be still, resting on your legs or on the table. Your shoulders must drop, moving away from your ears. Your neck must be straight, and most importantly, eye contact. To look away during the killer pause is to hand over the crown. You must hold your opponent's gaze until they are the first to blink or look down. That ocular dominance added to the verbal silence triggers instincts of submission in the brain of the other. At a primary biological level, they have just recognized that you are the alpha leader of the pack. The transfer of discomfort. The master key to mastering this technique is understanding the principle of energy transfer. When you pause for 10 seconds, discomfort appears in the environment. It is inevitable, but you are not going to absorb that discomfort. You are going to be a mirror. You are going to take all that nervous energy, block it with your chest of ice, and bounce it directly back at your opponent's face. You say mentally to yourself, I am the master of time. This silence is my palace. I feel comfortable in this void. You are the frightened intruder. Assume the discomfort as an exclusive problem of the other person. Observe them sweat with the same emotional distance with which you would watch a movie on television. You are not in the movie. You are the one with the remote control. Quantum ghosting applied to the digital world. We live in the era of smartphones, which means the killer pause must also be moved to the digital battlefield, to WhatsApp chats, emails, and social networks. Digital urgency is the disease of the slave. Someone sends you a poisonous message or a labor demand outside of hours. The sovereign applies the digital killer pause. If the message is a lack of respect or an absurd demand, the response time must be brutally delayed. You do not respond in minutes. You do not respond in hours. You respond the next day, or you do not respond at all. That intentional delay is a louder message than any insult you could type. You are shouting with your delay. Your demands do not alter my heartbeat. You are so irrelevant to my timeline that it took me 24 hours to remember that you existed. The monosyllabic response as humiliation. When you finally decide to respond to the message of a provocator or an attention vampire, your response must not contain any explanation. Do not justify your delay. Do not apologize for responding late. They wrote you a 15-line paragraph full of drama. They expect you to return another paragraph of equal length to start the war of egos. You read the 15 lines. You apply the 24-hour pause, and you respond with a single word, okay. Or you respond, understood. Or if you want to be truly sadistic, you respond with a thumbs-up emoji. The humiliation the vampire will feel will be cosmic. They will have invested their time and energy in drafting a testament to hurt you, and you crushed it with a monosyllable. You have just demonstrated that their maximum effort equals your minimum interest. You have hacked them through a glass screen. The black box effect. By systematically using the killer pause in your daily life, you will start to create the black box effect around you. A black box is an object in which information enters, but no one knows what processes occur inside. Your opponents and partners will give you information. They will talk to you. But by not receiving immediate emotional responses from you, they will not know how you operate. They will not know what scares you. They will not know how to manipulate you because you do not give them the logical buttons to press. You become indecipherable. Humans are terrified by the indecipherable, and by survival instinct, when they cannot understand something, they decide to respect and fear it. They will elevate you to the category of untouchable deity simply because they could not read your code. The solitude of the hunter. Protocol warning. This level of psychological dominance has a price. You're going to be very alone at the top. By dominating the nervous systems of others, traditional social dynamics will seem like a game for bored children. You will see through everyone's manipulations. You will see the fear behind your boss's shouts. You will see the insecurity behind cheap flirting. And because you are not going to play their reactive game, many will move away from you. They will accuse you of being a stone wall. They will say you have no empathy. You will smile inside. The solitude of the hunter is not sadness. It is tactical space. It is the cleaning of your holographic field. By moving away the weak with your relentless silence, you free up coordinates so that the titans arrive. True leaders and billionaires operate at this same frequency. The power of internal autoregulation. While you are freezing the external world with your silence, your inner world must be working at maximum power. The killer. Pause is not a blank space for your mind. It is the moment where you operate the machine of reality. During those 10 seconds, you are in your quantum machine room. While you look them in the eyes, you assume internally, this person has already agreed to my price. This person has already submitted to my terms. You are not just crushing them with three-dimensional psychology, you are rewriting them in the fifth dimension. Telepathy is not a mystical Hollywood trick. Telepathy is simply the imposition of a dominant assumption over a holographic avatar that has no internal resistance. Silence eliminates the noise necessary for that order to penetrate without obstacles. Total control of the board. You have moved to the offensive. You have stopped being a passive reactor and have become a creator of atmospheric pressure. You have learned to use the biological terror of others to your advantage. The killer pause is your trigger. Your ability to withstand the discomfort of others is your cosmic wealth. But what happens when you face an entity that is so broken and so deeply sick with mediocrity that it does not even deserve to be hunted? What happens when the killer pause is not enough because the parasite requires a total annihilation of its existence in your timeline. Sometimes it is not enough to disarm the aggressor. Sometimes you have to erase them from the map of reality as if they had never existed. You have to rip their file out of your quantum hard drive. Chapter 4: The Punishment of the Void. You have learned to use the killer pause. You have discovered how to freeze the blood of your opponents with 10 seconds of ice. You are capable of disarming verbal attacks and hacking entire negotiations. But the killer pause is a hand-to-hand combat tool. It is used when you still have a tactical interest in the person. It is used when you want to dominate the interaction but keep the actor in your play. What happens when the actor is useless? What happens when the person in front of you is not a worthy adversary but an irrecoverable parasite? What do you do with the narcissist, with the toxic ex, with the traitor, or with the family member? What do you do with those who only know how to spit poison and mediocrity? You do not use the killer pause. You do not play with them. You do not try to dominate them in a conversation, because conversing with a parasite is already a defeat. When the infection is lethal, the king does not negotiate with the virus. The king amputates the infected limb. Today you are going to learn to execute the punishment of the void. You are going to learn to use the guillotine of attention, the diet of the energy vampire. To destroy an emotional parasite, you first have to understand what it feeds on. You have to understand its metaphysical digestive tract. The three-dimensional slave believes that toxic people seek love or seek to be right. False. Energy vampires do not seek your love. They do not care about being right. The vampire only seeks one thing: your reaction. Emotional reaction is the currency in the underworld of the mediocre. For a vampire, your energy is pure food, and here is the darkest secret of the human psyche. The vampire does not care at all if that energy is positive or negative. If you say, "I love you," the vampire eats. If you scream, "I hate you, you ruined my life," the vampire also eats. Your hate is just as nutritious for them as your devotion. As long as they manage to alter your electrocardiogram, as long as they manage to make your heart beat faster because of them, they have won. They have milked you. They have sucked the quantum blood from your hologram, the trap of the last word. The most pathetic mistake beginners make when ending a toxic relationship or a bad business partnership is seeking to have the last word. The slave wants to draft a 5-paragraph WhatsApp message explaining why the other is a monster. They want to leave by slamming the door. They want to shout their truths. They want to shout their truths before blocking the parasite. They believe that by insulting them and telling them off, they are winning. They believe they are demonstrating power. What absolute blindness! When you send that message full of anger, the parasite smiles on the other side of the screen. Their ego has an orgasm. They have managed to make you invest 20 minutes of your time and all your bile in them. You have just confirmed to them that they are important enough to destroy your peace. The last word is the consolation prize for losers. The winner does not need the last word because the winner takes the entire board in absolute silence. The mechanics of the guillotine. The punishment of the void is not a passive-aggressive tactic. It is not stop talking to someone, hoping they notice you are angry, so they come to ask for forgiveness. That is cheap preschool manipulation. The guillotine of attention is a final, definitive, and lethal act. It is the absolute de-rendering of an avatar. It is the absolute de-rendering of an avatar in your personal matrix. When you decide to execute someone from your timeline, the blade falls without warning. There is no farewell letter. There is no ultimatum. There is no, "we need to talk." One day, the parasite sends you a poisonous message or disrespects you or betrays you, and in that exact millisecond you press the delete button. You block their number. You block their social networks. You delete their photos. You remove their contact from your phone. And most importantly, you extirpate their name from your internal dialogue. You never pronounce their name again. For your brain, that person has just suffered a spontaneous combustion and turned to dust. They have ceased to exist in the fabric of your reality. The terror of non-existence. Do you know what happens to the psyche of a narcissist or an emotional vampire when you apply this level of amputation? They enter biological terror. The parasite is used to people fighting with them. They are used to being confronted, cried at, and insulted. Conflict is their natural habitat. They know how to swim in the mud, but they do not know how to swim in the vacuum of outer space. When you apply the guillotine, you expel them through the hatch of your spaceship. You throw them into the vacuum at -200 degrees Celsius. By not finding your reaction, by not finding a wall against which to bounce their provocations, their identity collapses. Total silence suffocates them. You deprive them of the electromagnetic oxygen they need to breathe. They will feel they have been erased from existence, and that is the greatest humiliation you can inflict on a sick ego, demonstrating to it that its presence or its absence is mathematically irrelevant to your empire. The extinction burst, the litmus test. When you execute the punishment of the void, you must prepare for a psychological phenomenon known as the extinction burst. When you take away the lever that gave food to a laboratory rat, the rat does not give up immediately. At first, it presses the lever 100 times faster, with desperation and fury. It does this before giving up and starving. The human parasite does exactly the same. When you cut off the supply of your attention, they will go crazy. They will try to contact you through other phone numbers. They will create fake profiles. They will invent lies about you. They will speak ill of you behind your back. They will try to provoke a reaction from you at any cost. They will throw stones at the window of your castle. This is the moment where 99% of beginners fail. They hear the stone hit the window, they get offended, they peek out and scream, "Leave me alone." You have just ruined the execution. You have just given the lever back to the rat. You have given it the drop of blood it needed to stay alive. The sovereign does not check the trash. The sovereign creator knows that the extinction burst is the undeniable proof that the technique is working. When the parasite screams and makes defamation campaigns against you, you do not defend yourself. You turn up the volume of the music in your golden castle and pour yourself a glass of wine. You let the parasite bleed out at the door. You let them waste their own energy shouting at a titanium wall. You do not send your guards to silence them. You do not post hints on your social networks to debunk them. If someone comes to tell you the gossip of what the parasite is saying, apply the guillotine to them too. You say to your friend, "That character is dead in my timeline. Do not bring me correspondence from a cemetery. Change the subject or leave as well." The sovereign does not check the trash after taking it out to the street. Your indifference is not feigned. It is a clinical, icy, and absolute indifference. The emotional closure scam. The traditional therapeutic system has infected humanity with the need for closure. They tell you that to get over a toxic ex or a friend who betrayed you, you need to have one last conversation. They tell you that you need to sit down for coffee with your executioner so they can explain why they hurt you. They tell you this so you can forgive them and move on. That is the biggest scam in the psychology of slaves. Closure is a pathetic excuse for your ego to see the person who destroyed you again and beg for one last drop of their attention. You do not need a liar to explain why they lied to you. What do you expect them to say? Do you expect their explanation to heal your wound? The only closure you need is the sound of the blade falling. Closure is your irrevocable decision to never allow them entry into your electromagnetic field again. Their lack of explanation is the explanation. Their lack of respect is the closure. Do not seek logical answers in the mind of a parasite. Execute the punishment of the void and close the file yourself. Quantum ghosting and digital espionage. The guillotine of attention must be applied both in the physical world and in cyberspace. And here is where you must face your own toxic addiction. Digital espionage. Many slaves block their ex or their enemy, but use fake accounts to spy on their Instagram stories. They check if the other person is already happy. They check if the other person is suffering. If you do this, you are a cosmic fraud. You are cheating at solitaire. Although the parasite does not know you are looking, the universe does know. The quantum field does know. In the fifth dimension, there are no fake accounts. When you look at the photo of your enemy, you are sending a ray of your vital energy directly to their avatar. You are feeding them in the darkness. You are keeping the electromagnetic link active. Your attention is your blood. If you keep stalking the parasite, you are giving them a blood transfusion every day. Quantum ghosting demands the total amputation of interest. It means you don't give a sovereign damn if that person wins the lottery tomorrow or if they are hit by a train. Your neutrality must be monstrous. The illusion of Christian forgiveness. You have been taught that you must forgive your enemies to be free. Religion tells you that you must turn the other cheek and love those who harmed you. That philosophy was invented to create herds of docile sheep that do not defend themselves when wolves attack them. The unbreakable monster does not practice submissive forgiveness. The sovereign does not forgive in the human sense. The sovereign de-renders. You do not forgive the traitor by saying, "It's okay, don't worry, let's keep being friends." That is an invitation to be stabbed again. You forgive by withdrawing your electromagnetic charge from the event. You look at the act of betrayal, extract the tactical learning, and then erase the actor from the face of your hologram. The sovereign's forgiveness is definitive oblivion. It is a contempt so high that the aggressor becomes a blur. The aggressor becomes a blurred spot in the rearview mirror of your empire. There is no hate, because hate requires effort. There is only absolute nothingness. The void as a construction space. When you apply the guillotine of attention to several parasites at once, you will experience a phenomenon that is terrifying and liberating at the same time. Your life will become very silent. Your phone will stop ringing. The dramas will disappear. You will realize that 80% of your social interactions were simply emotional garbage collection. At first, that vacuum will give you vertigo. Your brain, addicted to stress and conflict, will feel that life has become boring. You will feel the temptation to unblock a parasite just to have something to fight with. Resist the withdrawal syndrome. That vacuum you are feeling is not loneliness. It is free space on your hard drive. You have released the bandwidth of your quantum processor. All the energy you spent arguing, spying, hating, and justifying yourself is now floating in your room, ownerless, ready to be used. If you channel all that raw energy and direct it toward building your businesses, toward your physical body, and toward your self-concept, you will mutate at a terrifying speed. The people who see you a year after your great purge will not recognize you. They will think you made a pact with the devil. They will not know that the only pact you made was the pact of absolute silence with the scum. Respect is earned with the threat of the void. Do you want to know why people disrespect you today? Because they know you are not capable of leaving. They know you do not have the courage to apply the guillotine. They know that if they insult you, you will get angry, you will scream at them, but tomorrow you will talk to them again. They know that your threat to leave is a bluff. You are a dog that barks very loudly but has no teeth. The punishment of the void gives you your teeth back. When people know that you are an individual capable of cutting blood ties from one second to the next without shedding a tear, their behavior mutates. No one plays with the patience of a man or a woman who is not afraid to be alone. They will walk on eggshells around you. They will measure their words. They will treat you with an almost religious reverence. Your ability to apply tactical amputation becomes your aura of power. People will feel that access to your life is an extremely fragile and expensive privilege, and they will do the impossible not to lose it. The monstrous piece of the emotional cemetery. You have created a private cemetery in your mind for all those who are not at the level of your empire. The tombstones have no names. There are no flowers. There is only cosmic dust. You will walk through your mental palace, and you will not find ghosts to haunt you. There will be no echoes of past discussions. There will be no resentments burning your stomach. You will have reached monstrous peace, a state of neutrality so obscene that the outside world will have no tools to hurt you. You will have become impermeable to criticism, rejection, and betrayal. Because you know that any holographic avatar that tries to play against you will be automatically sent to the quantum incinerator of your indifference. You are the judge, the jury, and the executioner of your own human experience. And the maximum sentence in your court is never physical death. The maximum sentence is the total and irreversible revocation of your sacred attention. Preparing the ground for the hunt. You have cleaned the house. You have gotten rid of the vampires, the jesters, and the three-dimensional trash. You have sealed the cracks where your vital energy leaked out. You are alone. You are dense. You are absolutely charged with electricity. You are the black hole we talked about in the introduction, and your gravitational mass is at its maximum capacity level. It is the moment to stop destroying and start attracting. It is time to use this immense absence, this terrifying silence, to magnetize the greatest desires of your life. Magnetize them toward your geometric center. Chapter 5: The Seduction of Absence. You are going to force matter, money, and people to chase you. Today you are going to learn the darkest and most lethal art of human alchemy, the seduction of absence. You are going to discover why your physical presence devalues your price and how your tactical disappearance turns you into a designer drug. The suicide of persuasion. The three-dimensional slave operates under a mathematical logic that is fundamentally broken. The slave believes that if he wants something, a partner, a contract, a client, he must run after it. You have been brainwashed by the culture of romantic effort and commercial persistence. They told you that if someone ignores you, you must insist. They told you that you must send more messages. You must show them how much you care. That is the philosophy of an emotional beggar. It is the strategy of a stray dog pleading for a piece of meat. And human biology instinctively despises the beggar. In the precise millisecond you take a step forward chasing someone, you communicate a truth. You are telepathically communicating. You have more value than I do. I need you to complete my hologram. And what does matter do when it detects need? It flees. It is a law of quantum physics. Need is a frequency of lack. The universe cannot deliver abundance to you if your search engine is calibrated to scarcity and desperation. The physics of magnetic repulsion. Imagine two magnets. If you grab one magnet and desperately push it against the negative pole of the other, the force of repulsion will become more aggressive the more you try to bring them closer. If you chase it across the table, the other magnet will keep fleeing indefinitely. You are pushing it away with your own strength. You are expelling it from your life through effort. That is your love life and your financial life. You send 3 messages in a row without a response. You call to ask for explanations. You ask that person out 5 times and settle for cheap excuses. You lower your prices to retain a client who disrespects you. You crawl. You exert pressure. And the other person retreats, suffocated by the nauseating smell of your need. The sovereign creator never pursues. The sovereign is the giant magnet bolted to the geometric center of the table. He does not move a single millimeter. His immovable gravitational mass forces the other magnets to slide toward him. The difference between love and obsession. The romance industry has sold you love as a fairy tale where 2 people communicate all the time, tell each other everything they feel, and are always available for one another. That type of love is boring, predictable, and sterile. It has no voltage. It moves the EKG needle at a pathetic speed. The human brain adapts quickly to safety and loses interest. You do not want that domestic slave love. You want to generate a magnetic obsession. You want the other person to be unable to sleep thinking about you. You want their brain to consume calories, analyzing every one of your silences. Obsession is not born from presence. Obsession is born exclusively from the void. It is born from uncertainty. It is born in the dead hours where you are not there, and the other person does not know what the hell you are doing. If you are always there, if you respond in 5 seconds, if your life is an open book, you leave no space. You leave no room for the other person's mind to work. You bore them with your excessive availability. The blank canvas and projection. Humans do not like falling in love with real people. Real people have flaws, stomach problems, bad days, and bills to pay. Reality is coarse and unexciting. Humans fall in love with fantasies. They fall in love with the idealized versions they build in their own heads about you. But for them to paint that masterpiece of perfection, you have to give them a blank canvas. If you talk too much, if you tell all your weaknesses, your fears, and your insecurities, you are dirtying the canvas. You are painting mediocre scribbles that destroy the fantasy. The magnetism of silence is the act of becoming a blank mirror. You shut up. You become distant. You wrap yourself in mystery. And since the reptilian brain abhors a vacuum, the other will be forced to fill that silence with their own imagination. By not knowing what you are thinking, they will project their greatest desires onto you. They will see you as smarter, more attractive, and more powerful. You didn't have to convince them of anything. They brainwashed themselves in the void of your absence. The neurological cocktail of silence. We are going to hack the neurobiology of your target. The hormone of desire, motivation, and addiction is called dopamine. Science has shown that dopamine does not fire when the person obtains the reward. Dopamine reaches its maximum peak during the anticipation of the reward. It is the waiting time that generates the addiction. When you send a message and then disappear for 12 hours, the other person's brain enters a state of alert. They start looking at their phone every 5 minutes. The uncertainty of not knowing when you are going to respond shoots their dopamine levels through the roof. You are drugging them with your absence. Their brain associates that chemical alteration directly with your name. If you break that cycle and respond immediately to not make them suffer or to be a good boy, you have just cut off their dopamine supply. You have ruined the chemical game. You have become a boring sedative instead of a lethal stimulant. The human slot machine. Why do casinos make billions of dollars a year? Because they use the principle of intermittent reinforcement. If a slot machine gave a prize every time you pulled the lever, the player would get bored in 5 minutes. If the machine never gave a prize, the player would get frustrated and leave. Addiction is created because the machine gives prizes unpredictably. The player pulls the lever without knowing if they will win the jackpot or lose their money. That asymmetry shatters human reasoning. You have to become an emotional slot machine. You cannot be a constant source of attention. You have to apply intermittent supply. One day you are charming, brilliant, and give them a masterful conversation. The next day you become icy, monosyllabic, and distant. You wrap yourself in your work and disappear from the radar. The other person will short-circuit. They will invest time and energy chasing you. The tactical withdrawal, the withdrawal of the god. There will come a point in any interaction where you feel the other person is getting too relaxed. You will feel they are starting to take you for granted. They cancel a date at the last minute or take forever to respond. The slave reacts by throwing a tantrum. He demands an explanation, losing his crown in the mud. The sovereign creator executes the tactical withdrawal. He does not get angry. He does not complain. He does not raise his voice. He simply gathers his electromagnetic energy and vanishes from the scene with the coldness of a ghost. You cut communication abruptly. If they write to you, you take 48 hours to respond. You respond with a dry emoji. You stop watching their stories on social media. You erase your presence from their hologram. This withdrawal is not an emotional punishment from the wounded ego. It is a military maneuver of price correction. You are withdrawing the supply of your presence, so the value of your shares skyrockets. The ego's terror of losing the turn. Your own ego will be your worst enemy while you apply this technique. When you have been in absolute silence for 3 days applying the tactical withdrawal, your three-dimensional mind will panic. The ego will whisper, if you don't talk to them, they will forget you. If you disappear, they will find someone else. That is the voice of the terrified beggar. It is the false belief that the 3D world operates on scarcity. If you give in to that fear, you are proving to the universe that you have no faith in your own priceless value. Kill that voice. If a person can forget and replace you in 3 days, they were a low-category NPC. They do not deserve a single seat in the theater of your empire. Silence is the gold strainer. Whoever truly belongs to your timeline will feel your absence like a whip on their back and will run toward you. Whoever forgets you just did you the greatest favor of your life by removing themselves from the equation. Mental space control, predatory telepathy. Physical absence is only half the equation. If you don't talk to someone but spend 24 hours a day obsessed with them, checking their profile and suffering, the tactical withdrawal will fail. In the quantum field, physical distance does not exist. If you ignore them in 3D but send them rays of desperation in 5D, they will feel it. Your silence will feel fake and hollow. The seduction of absence demands total detachment. When you disappear, you have to truly disappear. You have to focus 100% of your energy on yourself, your business, your body, and your empire. When you genuinely stop thinking about them, you generate a vacuum. You create a quantum black hole in the fabric of space-time. And the target's mind will be violently sucked into that void. Suddenly, they will be in the middle of a meeting, and your face will appear in their mind. They will wake up feeling an inexplicable anguish for not hearing from you. You will be operating from the shadows, hacking their thoughts without moving a finger. You have occupied all their mental space simply because you refuse to occupy their physical space. You are the ghost architect of their insomnia. Commercial seduction, the salesman who flees. This law of absence and mystery is not limited to romance. It is the most devastating sales weapon in the corporate world and the closing of million-dollar deals. The mediocre salesman pursues the client. He sends follow-up emails every day. He begs for a meeting. The client smells the desperation and rejects him. The high-level entrepreneur, the sovereign, presents his offer with mathematical coldness. He says, "This is what I do. This is my price. It costs 10 times more than the competition because I do not compete. I monopolize." And immediately after, the sovereign stands up from the table and heads for the door. He does not press the close. He does not ask for answers. He executes the tactical withdrawal at the moment of greatest tension. Take your time to decide. If you're not interested, no problem. And he vanishes into absolute, deafening silence. The corporate client will suffer an ego collapse. The sovereign's arrogance will leave them unsettled. Their brain will translate that absence of need as an indicator of infinite value. The fear of being left out of the deal will force them to chase you, to accept your price without haggling, and to beg you to sign the contract. You seduced money by turning your back on it. The paradox of the short response. When you are applying absence and the other finally collapses and seeks you out, your ego's instinct will be to celebrate. You will want to jump for joy. You will say, "It worked, they wrote to me." And in your euphoria, you make the usual mistake. They write a simple, "Hi, how are you?" And you respond with 3 paragraphs. You respond with paragraphs full of emotion, telling them how much you missed them, and giving explanations for why you moved away. You just ruined weeks of work in 3 seconds. You just proved to them that your silence was not sovereignty, but a cheap manipulation technique because you were still desperate. When the target approaches and breaks your silence, you maintain the sniper's posture. Your heart rate does not alter. Your response must be surgically short, icy, and wrapped in mystery. They write, "I've missed you so much, why did you disappear?" You respond 3 hours later, "I've been busy building, I'm fine." That monosyllabic response is a containment wall. You don't give them the emotional closure they seek. You don't return the validation. You keep them in a state of starvation. You force them to invest 10 times more effort to get a smile out of you. The state of the untouchable ghost. The magnetism of silence taken to its maximum expression turns you into an untouchable ghost. You are physically in the world, but your energy is not within anyone's reach. People will look at you and know you are on a different frequency. They will know any threat of abandonment is absolutely irrelevant to you. You do not hold anyone by force. You open the gates of your castle wide and say to everyone, "Whoever wants to leave, leave right now. There will be no tears or goodbyes. Just don't come back." That absolute freedom, that lack of attempt to retain, is the greatest psychological cage that exists. By not putting bars on them, the prisoners fall in love with the cell. People stay by your side precisely because they know you don't need them to survive. You are a drug that has no side effects of pleading. You are the incarnation of unsatisfied human desire. The inversion of polarity. Suddenly the hologram changes. The matrix is rewritten. One day you wake up and realize that 3-dimensional physics has turned 180 degrees in your favor. You no longer run after money. Money appears in your bank account through businesses that seek you out without you having advertised. You no longer chase ideal partners. The most attractive, loyal, and powerful people compete savagely for the privilege of being heard by you for 5 minutes. You no longer argue to be right. Your simple presence in a room is enough for others to adapt their opinions. You have inverted the polarity of creation. You have become a strange attractor in chaos theory. Everything flows toward you because you became the point of least resistance and greatest gravity. The return of the addict and the final test. But be careful, Sovereign. The seduction of absence is a radioactive weapon. When you use it, you are playing with the source code of the apparent free will of others. The moment will come when the person you ignored will return. They will come on their knees, they will call you in the early morning. Their addiction to your absence has manifested in the physical world. They have collapsed before your gravity. You have total victory in your hands. And here, in the moment of absolute triumph, is where 99% of false gods lose their crown. Your ego will be tempted to feel compassion. You will feel pity. You will want to be the kind savior who picks them up from the ground. If you do that, the illusion breaks. The spell vanishes. The wild beast you tamed with whips of silence will realize you are weak. The dog that pleaded for food will bite your hand again the next day. You cannot go down into the mud to celebrate with the loser. When the addict returns, you receive them with the same immovable expression of an Egyptian sphinx. You allow them to orbit in your solar system again, but under your new conditions and laws. You are the sun. They are the cold stone spinning. The crown of absence. You have mastered the seduction of absence. You are no longer matter chasing matter. You have become the empty space that matter is condemned to fill by the law of gravity. You know when to disappear. You know how to cut the emotional supply. You know how to use the blank canvas so that idiots project their own worship toward you. But physical silence and temporary absence are visible tactics. They are movements that the human eye can, sooner or later, come to interpret. To become a truly indecipherable entity, you must go further. You have to become psychologically opaque. You have to destroy people's ability to predict your next move. You have to turn your mind into a vacuum-sealed bunker. Chapter 6. The Aura of the Unpredictable. If you disappear every Friday at 5 in the afternoon, your absence is no longer a mystery. It is an office schedule. You are no longer a ghost. You are a train with a fixed itinerary. And in the Matrix battlefield, predictability is a death sentence. If your enemies or your partner know exactly what you will do, they have you in their sights. Today you are going to destroy the map of your life. You are going to burn your own instruction manual. You are going to become an object of psychological terror for the outside world. Welcome to the black box, the disease of the open book. Modern society, infested with weakness and false therapy, has sold you a disgusting metaphor. You have to be an open book. They tell you that extreme honesty and total transparency are virtues. Think about what happens to an open book. Anyone can turn its pages. Anyone can read its secrets in an afternoon and stain it with dirty fingers. Worst of all, once a book has been read from beginning to end, it becomes boring. There is no more intrigue. What does a human do with a book they have already read? They throw it on a shelf to gather dust. That is exactly what people do with you when you tell them your whole life. When you reveal your childhood traumas on the first date, they read you, decipher you, consume you, and discard you. You become a harmless and boring object on the shelf of their lives. The sovereign creator is never an open book. The sovereign is an encrypted scroll that changes languages every 5 minutes. The anatomy of the black box. In aeronautical engineering, there is a device called a black box. It is an armored, indestructible artifact that survives the worst air crashes in the world, but in systems theory, a black box has an even more tactical meaning. It is a system where you can see what goes in and what comes out, but the internal mechanisms are hidden. Your mind must become a three-dimensional black box. The outside world can throw stimuli at you, an insult, a compliment, $1 million offer, or a threat. And the outside world will see your response, a cold smile, a monosyllable, or your absolute disappearance. But the world must never, under any circumstances, know how you processed that information. They must never know your internal logic. They must never know which button their stimulus touched. Your thought process is top-secret classified information, the neurological terror of the unknown. The reptilian human brain is designed to recognize patterns. It is a biological prediction machine. If a caveman saw clouds turning black, he predicted rain and sought shelter. When the human brain cannot find a pattern, when it cannot predict what is going to happen next, it enters a state of maximum alert. It enters pure terror. The human being is afraid of the dark because darkness hides the unpredictable. They do not fear the dark room. They fear not knowing what the hell is hiding in that room. You are going to turn your personality, your reactions, and your lifestyle into a dark room. When people fail to anticipate your next move, they will feel that terror. In the psychology of domination, terror of the unknown translates automatically into absolute respect, devotion, and submission. They cannot manipulate you if they cannot predict which path you are going to walk. The tactical advantage of confusion. The military strategist Sun Tzu wrote millennia ago that all warfare is based on deception. If you are strong, feign weakness. If you are near, feign distance. In your relationships and business, the confusion of your opponent is your greatest tactical advantage. A confused opponent is a paralyzed opponent. If your boss scolds you unfairly, expecting you to cry or defend yourself, and you stare at him with a slight smile of boredom and say, "Interesting perspective," his brain collapses. You have broken his script. He had planned your reaction. By delivering an unpredictable reaction, you steal control of the play. You leave them stuttering, trying to process why you are not afraid. The chaos the world tries to inject into you, you return in the form of asymmetric confusion. And the one who is confused always ends up ceding power to the one who seems to know what they are doing. The quantum abortion, why you must silence your plans. Let's bring this unpredictability to the level of the electromagnetic field and manifestation. There is a golden rule in alchemy that 99% of students violate every day. Neville Goddard repeated it endlessly. Tell no man. Keep the secret. When you have a giant project or a desire, a quantum seed forms in your subconscious. If you run to tell your friends, your mother, or your followers on social media what you are about to achieve, you commit a quantum abortion. You open the womb of your mind prematurely. You expose the embryo to the brutal radiation of others' doubts. Their envy and skepticism act as an acid that corrodes the probability of your success. The friction of the hologram. The main reason for silence is even deeper. When you tell a hologram, a person in your 3D world, what you are going to do, that person forms a mental image of your future. If you tell your poor friend that you are going to become a millionaire, their brain, vibrating in scarcity, will think, "Impossible, he is just as poor as I am." That thought from your friend is not harmless. It is an electromagnetic instruction sent to the quantum field. You have just created a wall of friction in your own timeline. Now you have to overcome your own doubts and the doubts you implanted in your friend. The unbreakable monster does not announce his moves. He moves in the most absolute thick and dense of silences. He builds in underground darkness. No one knows what you are working on. No one knows your numbers. And one day, you simply appear with the building finished. When you present the accomplished fact, the Matrix has no time to offer resistance. How to be volatile without being a clown. There is a giant difference between being strategically unpredictable and being an unstable clown. The unstable person changes their mind because they have no emotional control. They cry, laugh, shout, and get depressed for no reason. That is repulsive. The sovereign is unpredictable, but his foundations are steel. Your volatility must be calculated. Your center of gravity never moves, but the face you show to the world changes according to your convenience. One day you arrive at a meeting in an impeccable black suit, speaking like a diplomat. The next, you arrive in sportswear in absolute silence, looking at everyone with icy contempt. You are the same immovable beast inside, but you change the three-dimensional costume. Others will wonder, which is the real one, the kind one, or the ruthless one? The answer is that you are neither. You are the puppeteer above, pulling the strings of your own identities to keep the audience on the edge of their seats. The murder of social routine. If you want to become an impenetrable black box, you have to murder your social routine. People think they know you because they know your habits. They know that if they write to you on Sunday afternoon, you are on the sofa, and you respond fast. They know which group you go out with. They know what you order. Start hacking your own behavior patterns. If you are always the first to speak in a group, today do not say a single word all night. If you are always serious, today laugh out loud at something absurd and then return to your ice expression. Disconnect people from their comfort. When people cannot pigeonhole you into a stereotype, their brain cannot relax. They remain in a state of submission and constant fascination. You are not the good guy. You are not the bad guy. You are a quantum entity that cannot be caged in the pathetic adjectives of human society. The attention diversion technique. The art of unpredictability is also the art of diverting attention. Professional magicians know that to make an elephant disappear on stage, they only have to make the audience look toward a bright light on the ceiling. While you operate in the shadows of the black box, give the gossip something boring to look at. Throw irrelevant information to the public. If they ask what you're up to, talk about a boring hobby. Tell a flat, superficial story. Give them a meatless bone to chew on. While they are busy chewing the white lie you threw them, you are emptying the bank vaults at the back door. You are collapsing timelines, the emancipation from your own past. The The greatest enemy of your unpredictability is not others, it is your own past. People judge you and predict your future based on who you were 5 years or 5 days ago. They tell you, "But you've always been shy. How are you going to give that talk?" They are trying to anchor you to the corpse of your identity. If you justify yourself or doubt, the ghost of the past will drag you back to the mud. The unbreakable monster suffers from tactical amnesia. The sovereign does not recognize his own past as an authority. The past is dead matter. The past is a deleted text file. When they remind you of your failures, look at them with a blank expression and say, "I don't know the person you're talking about. That avatar died," and execute your new radical move. Your ability to molt your skin like a cosmic snake without asking permission is what terrifies the mediocre. The terror of unjustified silence. We have talked about using tactical absence, but absence is even more lethal when it is mathematically unpredictable. If you pull away only when they treat you badly, you are predictable. You are reacting. You are a Pavlovian dog. They hit you and you leave. They give you a treat and you return. You are a robot. The true master stroke of the black box is pulling away when everything is perfectly fine. You are in a relationship that is going wonderfully. You've been laughing and connecting, and suddenly, without any argument, you turn cold as ice for 48 hours. You disappear into your work. Your responses become dry. The other person will enter a whirlwind of panic. Their brain will work overtime trying to find a logical explanation for an event that has no logic. You have injected a dose of pure chaos into their security system. You have reminded them that you are not their property and can evaporate at any moment. The magnetism of contradiction. The human brain does not tolerate cognitive dissonance. It cannot stand two contradictory ideas existing in the same space. The sovereign is the incarnation of cognitive dissonance. Be the most ruthless and cold person in the boardroom, and then be seen in the street feeding a stray dog with genuine tenderness. Be the person who wears $100,000 watches, but can sit to eat at a street stall with absolute elegance. Show genius-level financial intelligence, but maintain a dark interest in ancient metaphysics. Contradictions make you three-dimensional. You become a labyrinth, you are ungraspable, the armor against revenge and envy. Becoming a black box not only gives you magnetic power, it gives you diplomatic immunity against the attacks of your enemies. When envious people want to destroy you, they look for your weak point. If you are an open book, your enemies have a detailed map with a big red X drawn over your vulnerabilities. But if you are unpredictable, your enemies are shooting in the dark. They don't know if it offends you that they speak ill of your business. They don't know if you love your reputation or your freedom more. They don't know where to strike. You respond to a public insult by posting a photo on a yacht. By being unable to measure the impact of their attacks, they give up. Envy starves to death in front of the armored door of unpredictability. Embracing the absurd. The universe itself is unpredictable. Quantum physics teaches us that the behavior of subatomic particles is probabilistic, not deterministic. God plays dice at the deepest level of reality. Being predictable is trying to be a Newtonian machine in a quantum universe. It is against the nature of creation. Embrace the absurd. Make decisions that make no sense to human logic, but resonate like thunder in your divine intuition. Travel to an unknown city tomorrow without telling anyone. Invest money in something experts call crazy simply because you decreed it will be a success. Logic must bend to you. The icy solitude of the black box. What is the cost of this level of mystery? Very few people, perhaps no one in your current life, will truly know you. Your closest family and friends will only see the face of the black box you choose to light up. You will become an alien operating in a human body. People will fear you and desire you. That solitude is the price of the throne. The king has no friends, the king has allies, subjects, and courtiers. You have absolute trust only with yourself and the immutable law. But that solitude is also absolute freedom. By not depending on anyone understanding you, you are not a prisoner of their judgments. Preparing for the invisible attack. You have closed your mouth. You have stopped justifying yourself. You have learned to use the killer pause and the guillotine of attention. You have created a vacuum to obsess others, and now you have become completely indecipherable. You are an armored black hole. Your mystery is absolute. And right here, at this point of superior tactical isolation, is where the most supernatural and disturbing offensive skill of this entire manual is unlocked. You no longer need to speak to command. You no longer need to move your arms for the physical world to bend. Now you will learn to communicate with code. Chapter 7. Predatory Telepathy. Speaking in the fifth dimension, avatar hacking and the gravity of the self-concept, today you are going to cross the border of Newtonian physics. You are going to abandon the three-dimensional world of flesh and vocal cords, and you are going to enter the machine room of the fifth dimension. You are going to learn to speak without opening your mouth. You will discover how to give irrevocable orders using predatory telepathy. The myth of verbal communication. Traditional science and parapsychologists claim that communication is divided into words, tone of voice, and body language. They teach you public speaking courses to convince others. They tell you that if you use the right words, you can make that person fall in love with you, close that business deal, or earn your boss's respect. That is a lie designed to keep you trapped in the friction of the physical world. Words are the most primitive, clumsy, and deceitful means of communication that exist. Words are slow. Words lie. Words can be refuted by the intellect of the other person. When you use words to convince, you are inviting the other's ego to a debate. The sovereign creator does not debate. The sovereign imposes. And to impose a reality on another human being without generating resistance, you have to bypass their intellect completely. You have to communicate in the only language that their reptilian brain and subconscious mind cannot block or refute. Electromagnetic frequency. The invisible 93% rule. Studies claim that 93% of human communication is nonverbal, but academics are wrong in believing that nonverbal is simply how you cross your arms or how you look. The true 93% nonverbal is purely energetic. It is the wireless transmission of your self-concept into the auric field of the person standing in front of you. Your thoughts and deepest assumptions generate an electrical signature in your brain. That electricity creates a magnetic field around your body. You are a human radio antenna that transmits 24 hours a day. If inside you feel inferior, if you fear rejection, your antenna transmits the frequency of the prey. The other person will smell it before you even say hello. Their subconscious will read your barcode and say, "This one is weak, I can trample them." But if you are anchored in the mathematical certainty that you are a god operating a suit of flesh, your magnetic field is heavy and overwhelming. You transmit the alpha frequency. The true nature of telepathy. Hollywood has taught you that telepathy is hearing voices in your head or moving objects with your mind. That is a childish vision. True hermetic telepathy does not consist of reading the other's mind. Reading the other's mind is a defensive and paranoid act. It is trying to guess what they think of you. Predatory telepathy consists of writing in the mind of the other. It consists of injecting your own assumption directly into their source code so that they execute it as if it were their own idea. Remember the master law of quantum reality. Everyone is you pushed out. People around you do not have a separate mind. They are terminals connected to your own central server. They are holographic avatars that have no free will to go against your dominant assumption. If you assume with absolute cold blood that someone respects you deeply, that person has no other quantum choice but to act with respect. Their free will is an illusion. The secret ingredient, physical silence. Why does telepathy fail for 99% of beginners? Because they try to use telepathy and words at the same time. That is a redundancy that destroys the magic. If you mentally assume you are a king, but then open your mouth to try to convince the other person of how great you are, you have just destroyed your own assumption. The king does not need to convince anyone that he is the king. Verbal effort cancels the telepathic command. Predatory telepathy requires the magnetism of silence. Physical silence is the perfect conduit through which quantum radiation travels. When you shut up, you turn off the noise of the 3D world. By turning off the noise, the communication channel of the fifth dimension opens wide. Your mind connects directly with the target's subconscious mind without filters, without barriers, and without friction. Entering the room, the gravity strike. Let's apply this to real life. You have a crucial business meeting. or you are going into a party where the person you want to seduce is, or you are going to confront an enemy. The slave enters the room looking everywhere, seeking approval. He enters quickly with tense shoulders. His energy apologizes for existing. The sovereign executes the gravity strike. Before turning the doorknob, you stop for 3 seconds in the hallway. You close your eyes and adjust the dials of your machine room. You mentally decree, "I am the supreme authority in this space-time coordinate. Everyone here is an extension of my mind and is programmed to obey." You feel the weight of that truth in your chest. You feel that your energetic mass has just multiplied by 1,000. You become heavy. You open the door and enter. But you enter 20% slower than normal. Your movements are heavy, fluid and relaxed, like a lion walking through its territory without fear of being attacked. The murder of the other's internal dialogue. By entering with that titanium frequency and keeping your mouth shut, a disturbing phenomenon occurs in the room. The electromagnetic field of the people present crashes against yours, and because yours is infinitely denser and more secure, their fields collapse and align with yours. It is pure resonance physics. The internal dialogue of those people is silenced for a fraction of a second. They will feel an invisible pressure in the environment. They will turn to look at you, not because you are the loudest, but because their nervous system has just detected the entry of an alpha predator. You haven't said a word. You have invaded them. They will get nervous. They will try to fix their clothes. They will look down when you pass. You have just hacked them. The predatory gaze, the assumption laser. Eye contact is the fiber optic cable of quantum telepathy. When you look a human in the eyes, you are establishing a direct bridge between your pineal gland and theirs. The slave looks into the eyes with anxiety. He looks seeking validation. If the other person looks away, the slave feels rejected. The sovereign uses the predatory gaze. You don't look at the person, you look through the person. You look at the wall behind their neck, piercing their skull with your focus. You relax the muscles around your eyes. You don't frown. You keep your eyelids slightly heavy with an expression of absolute control. While you hold that penetrating and icy gaze, without saying a single word, you send the telepathic command from the center of your chest, transmitting authority and tactical contempt. If the person in front of you is an opponent or a business rival, you are going to use telepathy to crush them. You stare at them with the predatory gaze, and in your mind, with a resounding, cold and dictatorial voice, you tell their subconscious, "You are tiny, you are irrelevant, I am your owner, surrender. I am..." You don't move a lip. Your face is made of ice. But your mind is screaming that command with the power of an atomic bomb. The person will feel the radiation. Their logical brain will not hear the words, but their limbic system will receive the full electrical discharge. They will lose the thread of the conversation. Their biological body has just received the order of submission from the fifth dimension and has no way to defend itself, because you did not give them physical words to fight with. You suffocated them in silence. Mass seduction telepathy. This same lethal weapon is used to generate a sickly obsession and an uncontrollable sexual desire in the person you want to magnetize. You are on a date. The novice would talk about his achievements or try to make them laugh. Peasant effort. The sovereign applies tactical silence. You let the other person speak. You lean back. You apply the predatory gaze, but this time you mix it with a slight touch of dark amusement in your eyes, and in the machine room of your mind, you begin to inject the assumption into their source code. You are obsessed with me. You cannot resist my gravity. You are mine. I already have you. You repeat that affirmation in your mind with the mathematical certainty of an accomplished fact. You feel the other person's desire as if it were real in this precise second. The corruption of the other's source code. The physical result of this seduction telepathy is terrifyingly fast. You will see how the other person begins to change their body language before your eyes. They will start touching their hair or neck nervously. They will blush. Their breathing will quicken. They will laugh at anything you say. Their subconscious has received the order that they are madly attracted to you, and their physical body is trying to justify that sudden chemical reaction. You didn't have to convince them of anything. You simply stayed quiet, assumed the state of possession in 5D, and let the pressure do the dirty work. You have just corrupted their source code. You have turned them into addicts to a drug that they don't even know you just injected into them, rewriting rejection in real time. What happens when the person in front of you says no in the 3D world? What happens when the client rejects the offer or the partner says they no longer want to see you? The slave hears the no from the physical mouth, gets offended, and accepts defeat. The slave believes in dead matter. The unbreakable monster knows that the words of the avatar mean absolutely nothing. The avatar is only repeating an old script that you yourself wrote in the past with your doubts. When the avatar says no, you do not respond to its mouth. You remain in silence. You look at it with cold compassion. And from your mind, you cancel their rejection in real time. You telepathically command, "That answer is incorrect. I have just erased that dialogue from your script. I am the director of this movie, and you are going to change your mind right now because I order it." The bending of physical matter. And immediately after, you change the subject radically. You ignore their no as if they had never uttered it. You do not discuss their rejection, because to discuss is to validate that it is real. By refusing to give energy to their no, and by crushing it with a resounding yes from 5D, the matrix fails. Hermetic law demands that the physical world reflect the strongest internal assumption. And since your assumption is a block of lead, and the avatar's denial is only a shadow, the shadow has to bend. You will see that same person start to doubt. They will say, "Well, maybe we could review it." The hologram has corrected itself to obey the telepathic instruction of the true creator. You have rewritten the software while the program was running. The infection of the self-concept. Your subconscious mind is highly contagious. When you spend enough time in the state of invulnerability and monstrous peace, you begin to infect the people around you with your own self-concept. Mediocre and toxic people cannot stand this infection. They will feel that your silence burns them alive. They will become irritable and eventually flee from your presence. The quantum field has expelled them because their virus frequency cannot coexist with your absolute cure. But high-value people will be deeply attracted to your infection. Being near you, they will feel more powerful and at peace. They will become addicted to being in the same room as you. Because you are a transmission tower of divine energy, you do not need to speak to inspire them. Your mere silent existence is a beacon of light in the middle of a world of blind slaves. Eliminating three-dimensional effort. Predatory telepathy is the definitive end of hard work in human relations. You no longer have to think about what message to send to sound interesting. You no longer have to plan cheap manipulation strategies. You no longer have to fight for attention. All that wear and tear is fighting in the mud. The creator rises to the stratosphere of the fifth dimension. He takes the decision in the darkness of his mind. He fixes the order. He comes down to earth. He keeps his mouth shut. And he watches how the avatars move automatically to fulfill the order without him having to move a physical finger. It is the perfect tyranny. It is quantum dominance executed with the mathematical elegance of a black hole. Entire galaxies of people and opportunities revolve around you, and you have not shed a single drop of sweat. The danger of toxic internal conversation. But be very careful, creator. This sword cuts both ways. If you understand that you are transmitting your assumption 100% of the time, you have to become a psychopathic dictator with your own internal dialogue. If you apply outer silence but inside you are crying, you are failing. If you think, "Why doesn't he call? What did I do wrong?" That is exactly the assumption you are injecting into the target's mind through the 5D Wi-Fi. You are programming them to perceive you as a loser. Outer silence cannot hide inner misery from the quantum field. If your internal conversation is not armored, your silence will be read as shyness, cowardice, or depression. Therefore, strict control of every thought is the non-negotiable requirement to wield the magnetism of silence. You have to be an assassin of your own doubts first. The final test on the battlefield. The moment will come to use this under real fire. You are in front of your ex who hurt you, or the boss who humiliated you. Your stomach will tighten. Your ego will ask you to defend yourself with words. It will want you to prove with logical arguments that you are worth gold. Kill the ego at that very moment. Shut your mouth, relax your body. Focus the predatory gaze through their skulls and launch the atomic bomb from your chest. I am the giant in this room. You are dust. Your script belongs to my recycling bin. You kneel before me in the real dimension. Hold the physical silence. Let the weight of the order crush them. Watch the quantum black magic happen before your eyes. You have stopped interacting with humans. You have started hacking the central computer of the universe. You are the architect dictating the code in real time. The darkness of temporary failure. But what happens when the matrix presents a delay? What happens when you issue the order, maintain the silence, but the physical world seems not to obey at that precise instant? Sometimes, the inertia of the 3D world is so heavy that the miracle takes a few hours or days to render. In that period of latency, the slave suffers a collapse. The slave goes home, sees that the contract fell through or the person blocked him, and breaks the magnetism of silence. He starts to cry. He calls his friends to complain. He shows his open wounds to the public seeking compassion. By doing this, the slave destroys the quantum seed. He confirms his defeat to the world, and the sharks smell the blood of his failure and come to tear him apart. In the next chapter, I will teach you the art of bleeding in private. You will learn how to hide your wounds. Chapter 8. Silence in Defeat. Bleeding in Private. The Predator's Cave and the Repudiation of Pity. The impact is real. The blade has cut you. You are on the ground and you are bleeding profusely. Biological pain is inevitable. It is your nervous system's response to the collapse of a structure. But what you do in the next 5 minutes after the fall will determine if you are a god in training or a pathetic slave. Today you are going to learn the darkest, most painful and most majestic art of human resilience. You are going to learn to swallow blood without making a single sound. The instinct of the wounded herd. When a prey animal is wounded in the jungle, its first instinct is to scream. It shrieks in pain. It bleats, asking for help from the herd. The prey animal expects that, by making noise, the herd will come to surround it, protect it, and give it warmth. It is a biological survival instinct based on group weakness. 99% of humanity operates with this same herd instinct. When the slave fails, when their heart is broken or they lose their money, they enter vocal panic. They immediately call their best friend to cry. They call their mother to complain. They summon an emergency meeting to vomit all their pain and tell the details of their tragedy. The slave seeks comfort. They seek to be told, "Poor thing, it wasn't your fault. The world is unfair, you are so good." The slave is trading their creator crown for a warm blanket woven with the pity of the mediocre. They have just quantum castrated themselves. The Feast of the Vultures. Why is it a tactical suicide to tell your failures to the tribe? Because the human tribe is infected by the virus of competitive mediocrity. Your friends and family will tell you they are so sorry. They will hug you. They will put on a sad face while you tell them how your company went bust or how you were deceived. But in the deepest and darkest part of their reptilian egos, they are celebrating. They are feeling an orgasmic and perverse relief at seeing you destroyed. Why? Because your failure justifies their misery. If you, who flew so high, crashed against the ground, then they have permission to remain mediocre without feeling guilt. Your blood is the feast of the vultures. Your tragedy is the entertainment movie for the boring lives of others. You are giving them free dopamine at the cost of your own three-dimensional suffering. The public vulnerability scam. Modern psychology and pop culture have brainwashed you with a lethal poison. The cult of vulnerability. They tell you that it's okay to not be okay. They tell you that you must share your pain to heal. They have convinced you that crying in public is an act of bravery. What a disgusting and paralyzing lie. Public vulnerability is not bravery. It is emotional exhibitionism. It is begging for attention using your wounds as currency. When you show your weaknesses to the world, you are not healing. You are handing your enemies a detailed map with the exact coordinates of where they should stab you next time. The Matrix adores vulnerable people because vulnerable people are docile. A human who cries their sorrows in public is a human who can be manipulated, blackmailed, and dominated by anyone who offers them a tissue. Digital suicide, tears on screen. The lowest, most pathetic and humiliating expression of the wounded herd occurs in cyberspace. Digital suicide. You end a relationship or have a bad day, and your first impulse is to grab the phone. You post a sad quote on your Instagram stories. You upload a melancholy song of heartbreak to WhatsApp. You write poisonous hints disguised as philosophical reflections on loyalty and betrayal. You want the world to know you are suffering. You want that specific person to see it and feel guilt. Listen to me with all the coldness of an iceberg. Every time you post your pain on the internet, your value in the attention economy falls. You become a tragic clown. You look desperate, you look small. Whoever hurt you will see your status and laugh at home, inflating their ego by realizing the immense power they have over your nervous system. You have handed the remote control of your mood to a cheap hologram. You are a puppet dancing to your own wound. The smell of quantum blood. At a metaphysical level, complaining publicly about failure has catastrophic consequences. The law of assumption is relentless. What you are is manifested, not what you desire. When you talk about your bankruptcy and tell everyone how bad things are, you are injecting electromagnetic voltage into the defeated victim state. You are engraving that assumption in three-dimensional stone. You are using the power of your physical word to give a body of steel to temporary failure. The quantum field hears your complaint and says, "Perfect. The Creator has decreed he is a failure. Multiply his problems by 10 to fulfill his decree." Silence is not just a tactic of pride. It is the medical tourniquet that stops the hemorrhage of your manifesting energy. If you do not speak of the problem, you cut the oxygen supply to the tragedy. The predator's cave. The alpha predators of nature, lions, lone wolves, tigers, do not act like sheep when they are wounded. If a lion is wounded in combat, it does not stay in the middle of the savannah howling in pain for the hyenas to see. The lion understands the law of the jungle. It knows that weakness attracts death. The wounded lion retreats in absolute silence. It crawls toward the darkest, deepest, and most inaccessible cave it can find. Once inside, it locks itself away. It lies in the darkness, and in complete solitude, it licks its own wounds. It does not seek compassion. It waits for its own miracle of regeneration. That is the magnetism of silence in defeat. The sovereign bleeds in private. The closing of borders. When life deals you a devastating blow, your first military action must be the closing of borders. You execute a total information blackout. You post absolutely nothing on social media, not sad things, not happy things, to pretend you are okay. You simply disappear from the cybernetic map. You do not answer messages. You do not attend social gatherings. You do not go partying to drown your sorrows with alcohol surrounded by the mediocre. Alcohol is the anesthetic of slaves who cannot bear the weight of their own minds. You lock yourself in your room. You turn off the phone. You have entered the cave, drinking your own poison. Once you are alone in the darkness of your room, the pain will multiply. Anxiety will hit your chest with the force of a hammer. Your ego will panic due to the lack of distractions. You will want to call someone. You will want to turn on the TV to evade the agony. You will want a pill or a drink to numb the shame. I strictly forbid you from using anesthesia. The unbreakable monster does not use drugs to evade reality. The monster sits in the center of the room, looks the monster of pain in the eyes, and drinks its own poison without blinking. You have to feel the physical pain of rejection, loss, and bankruptcy. You have to let it burn you inside. You have to swallow the sulfuric acid of your own stupidity and your own calculation errors. Sit in silence. Cry if you have to cry. Scream if you have to scream. Hit your mattress. Unleash hell. But do it alone. No one in the outside world must hear your voice or see your tears. Pity as sulfuric acid. You must develop a clinical phobia of others' pity. Pity is the most degrading feeling one human can receive from another. When someone feels pity for you, they are looking down on you. They have positioned themselves on a pedestal of illusory superiority, and you have become a crushed insect on the ground. The sovereign would rather bleed to death 1,000 times than accept a single look of pity. Pity is sulfuric acid for your self-concept. It melts it. It dissolves it. It turns you into a beggar, begging for scraps of empathy. If you hide your failure in absolute silence, you annihilate the chance of pity. If no one knows you fell, no one can look down on you. You keep your hierarchy intact even from the bottom of the abyss, the autopsy of failure without emotion. Once you have cried in private, and the chemical storm of adrenaline and cortisol has left your bloodstream, the dull pain will transform into a cold vacuum. That is the moment to put your analytical mind to work. You are a quantum surgeon standing before the corpse of your project. You will perform the autopsy, but you will do it with clinical cruelty, without seeking external culprits. The slave blames the economy, the scammer partner, or the narcissistic partner. The sovereign does not blame the mirror. The sovereign blames the projector. You ask yourself in the silence of your cave, at what point did I lower my vibration? What assumption of lack did I let into my mind 6 months ago, so that this disaster materialized today? Where was I weak? Where did I tolerate lack of respect? You are relentless with yourself. You find the original tumor of doubt in your own mind. By assuming 100% of the blame, you regain 100% of the power. Nuclear transmutation in the dark. This is where the dark magic of isolation occurs. Pure alchemy. You have in your hands the immense pain of failure. You have the fury, the humiliation, and the vacuum. That negative energy is dense, heavy, and highly volatile. It is radioactive plutonium. The slave lets the plutonium irradiate their body until it kills them with depression. The unbreakable monster takes the plutonium and puts it inside the nuclear reactor of their creative imagination. You are going to use the fury of your failure as fuel to shoot your next assumption into the stratosphere. You take that dull pain and say, "Never again. I will never again allow a hologram to bring me to my knees." And with blood boiling in silence, you rewrite the code. You visualize your resurrection with psychopathic aggressiveness. You build your empire in your mind with a level of greatness that borders on madness. If you were deceived, you assume a version of yourself so godlike and unreachable that the idea of someone rejecting you is physically comical. You are converting the blow of the 3D pendulum into the momentum that will launch you toward a parallel universe of absolute supremacy. Closing the file, burning the evidence. Before leaving the cave, you have to execute a legal act in the court of your mind. You have to close the failure file, and you close it by burning all the evidence. This means that, from the moment you decide the healing is over, the story of your fall is erased from your hard drive. It becomes classified information to which even you do not have access. You are not going to go through life telling your story of overcoming. False gurus love telling how they slept on the street to generate sympathy. They are slaves profiting from old wounds. The sovereign never uses past pain as a business card. If you close the file, you commit to never speaking of the betrayal or the pain again. You have shredded the documents. The event has been de-rendered from your operating memory. The resurrection without scars. Days have passed, or perhaps weeks. You have bled in the darkness. You have transmuted the plutonium. You have redesigned your self-concept. You have closed the file. It is time to leave the cave. It is time to return to the holographic world of flesh and blood humans. But you're not going to come out limping. You're not going to come out with bandages on your head or swollen eyes. Your resurrection must be that of an offended deity who just woke up from a nap. You dress in your best clothes. You keep your back straight, your shoulders back, and your chin parallel to the floor. When the outside world sees you again, they must not find a single scratch on your armor. They must see an unbreakable monster that radiates a dense, heavy, and terrifying peace. Tactical amnesia against the curious. The world, being a nest of mediocre gossips, will notice your return. Many will suspect something bad happened to you. They will approach you with the excuse of empathy. They will ask with a soft and condescending tone, "Hi, how have you been? I heard what happened. How do you feel?" They have the silverware in hand. They are ready to eat from your tragedy. They expect you to sigh, look at the ground, and tell them it's been hard. Your response must decapitate them on the spot. You will look them in the eyes, smile with charming coldness, and apply tactical amnesia. You will say, "What are you talking about? I'm at my best. Things have never been so ridiculously good as they are now." The electromagnetic shock in their brains will be monumental. The short circuit will leave them mute. Finding nothing but the ice wall of your sovereignty, they will retreat in fear. The terror of invulnerability. Tactical amnesia and resurrection. Without scars generate a devastating effect on the Matrix. When society and your enemies see that the worst possible disaster crashed into you and you act as if a mere fly had landed on your shoulder, they feel terror. The world panics at humans who cannot be destroyed. People measure their own power based on how much damage they can cause to others. If a narcissist leaves you expecting to ruin your life, and 3 days later sees you shining, focused, and indifferent, the narcissist will experience the death of their own ego. Your demonstration has broken the 3D rules. Your nuclear attack didn't even tickle. You have demonstrated to the universe that physical matter has no jurisdiction over your state of consciousness. You have corrupted the source code of human drama, the solitude of self-repair. From this day on, you will become an autonomous maintenance machine. You will no longer be a car that needs to go to the tribe's mechanic every time it gets an emotional flat tire. You will be a quantum satellite capable of detecting its own faults and updating its own software without technical assistance. This extreme emotional independence makes you unmanipulable. If you don't need anyone's comfort, no one can charge you emotional bills. If you don't need to be held when you cry, no one can threaten to withdraw their hug. You are free. Lethally and monstrously free. Your silence in defeat has been your protective shell. It has suffocated victimhood before it was born and tricked the Matrix into believing the damage never occurred. But this level of tactical silence that you apply to failure must be applied with the same violence and rigor to your success. The ego's blindness to triumph. The ego that cries for failure is the same ego that screams in euphoria when it wins. If I have taught you to hide your wounds to not feed the sharks, now I have to teach you to hide the miracle to not feed the thieves. When the transmutation works and the millions start manifesting, when power or love begin to manifest before your eyes, your biological ego will want to run out and brag. You will want to tell everyone that the law of assumption works. You will want to rub your victory in the faces of those who doubted you. You will want the tribe's applause. If you do that, you commit the last capital sin of the Creator. Chapter 9. Secrecy as Armor. Hiding the miracle, the quantum abortion, and the hermetics of creative isolation. The true test of fire, the one that annihilates 99% of metaphysics students and aspiring kings, does not happen in hell. It happens at the gates of paradise. What do you do when the law of assumption finally works? What do you do when the quantum machine collapses the wave and the miracle begins to materialize before your eyes? Your three-dimensional ego, hungry for recognition, will beg you to open your mouth. It will demand that you run to rub your victory in the faces of the mediocre who doubted you. If you yield to that temptation, if you allow a single sound of boasting to escape your lips, you will commit the most destructive mistake of your incarnation. You will have just signed the death warrant of your own miracle. Today you will learn the most rigid discipline of ancient alchemy. You will learn to swallow your triumphs with the same icy silence with which you learned to swallow your blood. Welcome to the Hermetic Shield, the quantum abortion and the exposed seed. To understand why you must shut your damn mouth when you're manifesting, you have to understand fifth-dimensional botany. When you assume a desire, a million-dollar company, a perfect relationship, a physical healing, you have just planted an electromagnetic seed in the fertile soil of your subconscious mind. What does a physical seed need to germinate? It needs moisture, pressure, and above all, absolute darkness. Roots only grow underground, where sunlight cannot touch them. The anxious slave plants the seed of his desire on Monday. On Tuesday, desperate for results, he digs up the earth with his hands to see if a root has come out. What happens to the seed when you dig it up and expose it to daylight? It burns, it dries up, it dies instantly. Every time you tell someone about the project you're building, every time you announce your plans before they have fully materialized in the 3D world, you are digging up the seed. You are exposing the fragile miracle. You are committing a quantum abortion. You are taking the fetus of your miracle out of the protective womb of your mind and exposing it to the toxic radiation of the outside world before it has skin to defend itself. The observer effect and friction. This is not cheap mysticism. It is demonstrable quantum physics. The famous observer effect of the double-slit experiment proves that the mere observation of a particle alters its behavior and collapses its state. While your project is a secret that exists only in your mind, it is a wave of infinite possibilities. It has no resistance. It travels at the speed of light toward its manifestation. But the instant you tell your project to a friend, your mother, or your partner, you have just invited an external observer into your quantum laboratory. You have invited their conscious mind, their doubts, their prejudices, and their fears to interact with your particle. If you tell a mediocre relative that you are going to bill $1 million this year, their logical brain will say, "That's impossible. The economy is bad." That thought does not stay in their head. It is an electromagnetic arrow fired directly at your hologram. They have introduced friction into your timeline with their frequency, the radiation of envy. But the doubt of others is not the only danger. There exists a poison much more lethal and corrosive than disbelief: envy. You have been taught that envy is simply an ugly feeling that bad people have. False. Envy is a low-frequency radiation laser, concentrated and aimed like a guided missile toward your auric field. When you tell an incipient success to someone who is frustrated with their own life, their reptilian ego suffers a mortal wound. Your success is the mirror that reflects their mediocrity. To relieve the pain of their own inadequacy, their subconscious mind will issue an automatic wish that you fail. They want to see you fall. That radiation of envy will bombard the invisible structure of your manifestation. Things will start to go wrong magically. Contracts will fall through at the last minute. The ideal partner will suddenly lose interest, and you will wonder, what happened? What happened is that you opened your bank vault and let beggars look at the gold. The myth of the support circle. The Matrix sells you the idea that you should surround yourself with a support circle, with whom you can share all your dreams so they can cheer you on. That is a trap designed to keep you anchored to the average. 99% of people do not want you to do better than them. They tolerate you doing well but never being a god. Even your closest friends and biological family will experience a short circuit if you try to rise to a level of royalty that they consider too much. The sovereign creator knows that his only real support circle is his own unwavering assumption. The sovereign does not need cheerleaders in the 3D world to motivate himself. If you need your mother, your partner, or your friends to applaud your business idea to feel it's worth it, you are an employee seeking a pat from the boss. You are not an emperor. The Hermetics of creative isolation. The ancient alchemists operated under an unbreakable principle called the Hermetic seal. To transform lead into gold, the alchemist placed the ingredients in a crucible and sealed it hermetically. If the seal had the slightest crack, if a single drop of air from the outside world entered, the transmutation failed and the chemicals rotted. Your mind is that crucible. Your assumption is the fire. Your desire is the lead about to become the gold of physical reality. The magnetism of silence demands that you apply an absolute hermetic seal around your private life and your ambitions. No one enters, no one looks, no one opines. You turn your mind into a lead-walled safe. You are a paranoid dictator with your information. What has not physically materialized 100% does not exist in your conversations. It is information classified by the cosmic high command. The temptation of the "I told you so" syndrome. The moment of greatest danger for electromagnetic leakage occurs just as the first signs of your manifestation begin to appear. The first big client appears. The specific person sends the first message after months. The money starts entering the account. Your biological ego will feel a violent impulse to grab the phone. It will want to call those who laughed at you and scream, "I told you so, look how I'm winning." You want to rub your success in their faces to take revenge for their lack of faith. If you do that, you prove you are still a slave. You prove your engine was not greatness but resentment. You are trying to impress dead avatars. The king does not take revenge on peasants by demonstrating his wealth. The king ignores the existence of peasants. His revenge is absolute oblivion. Swallow the "I told you so." Bite your tongue until it bleeds. Triumph is not announced with trumpets in the town square. It is consumed in the cold silence of the throne room. The disease of social media announcements. We live in a pathetic society where people believe an achievement is not real if they don't post it on Instagram or LinkedIn. People upload photos signing lease contracts. They post ridiculous phrases like "big things coming" or "working in silence." If you have to post that you are working in silence, why, you are desperate for attention. True silence leaves no digital traces. Posting your incipient victories on social media, is inviting thousands of energy vampires, known and unknown, to launch their arrows of envy and doubt upon your fresh work of art. The rule of digital hermetics is brutal. Never announce the process. Never announce the construction. You can only show the building when it is already finished, armored, sold, and generating millions. And when you show it, do so with the greatest possible indifference, as if the empire were a boring triviality for you. The tactical decoy technique. What if you live with people, or work in an environment where it is impossible to completely hide that you are doing something new? What if your family asks you every day what you are working on? If you apply the killer pause or refuse to answer, you will raise suspicion. They will obsess over discovering your secret. This is where the unbreakable monster applies the tactical decoy technique. Magicians know that to divert attention, they have to give the public something bright to look at. You are going to manufacture a fake, mediocre, and boring project. A decoy. If you are building a corporation, tell them something small. Tell them in a dull tone, "Oh, nothing special. I'm trying to sell some products online to earn extra money. It's hard, but I'm trying." Give them a miniature, castrated, and boring version of your life. Their mediocre ego will feel relieved. They will stop paying attention to you and go bother someone else. You have deceived them. You threw them a plastic bone to chew on while you continue roasting whale meat in the most absolute and sacred darkness. The power of spontaneous birth. Why is it so important that no one sees your construction process? Because the goal of the seduction of absence is to create a divine aura around you. Humans respect what involves sweat, but they adore and kneel before what looks like pure magic. If people see you working 20 hours a day, they will say you deserve it. They will see you as a good worker who succeeded. But if you work in the absolute silence of your black box, hiding all your effort from the public eye, the result will be disturbing. One day, you will appear out of nowhere, stepping out of a sports car with the body of a Greek god and a financial empire. Since no one saw the process, the Matrix will have no logical explanation for your rise. It will seem like a spontaneous birth. It will seem like you snapped your fingers and the world bent before you effortlessly. You will become a myth. They will attribute your success to an incomprehensible genius, normalizing the miracle, the poker face. The most dangerous moment for the ego occurs when the massive manifestation physically crashes into your life. The transfer of the first $100,000 arrives. The person who ignored you calls crying to beg for love. You are handed the keys to your mansion. Your heart will try to jump out of your mouth. Biological adrenaline will demand that you scream with happiness. Stop cold. Inhale through your nose. Freeze your face. If you jump with euphoria, you are quantumly admitting that the miracle is an extraordinary event. You are admitting that receiving wealth is a rarity. The law only materializes what seems normal. The sovereign creator applies the infinite poker face. You look at the bank account full of zeros, nod slowly and say aloud, "Of course." It was the logical next step, boring that it took so long. You close the bank app and go wash the dishes. Normalizing the miracle is the supreme way to retain it. Armoring the ideal relationship. This same rule of psychopathic hermetics applies to romantic manifestation. If you manage to attract the perfect partner, the outside world will try to destroy that union out of pure vibrational asymmetry. Your bitter friends will tell you, "No one is that perfect, he must be lying to you." They will project their traumas and their inability to love onto the canvas of your perfect relationship. Therefore, the sovereign never ever tells the intimate details of his relationship to anyone. He doesn't talk about the wonders his partner does in bed. He doesn't post ridiculous love dedications on Facebook. Your relationship becomes a walled and invisible fortress. Before the world, you and your partner are an impenetrable block of ice. No one knows if you fight. No one knows if you love each other madly. Real love, quantum love that bends realities, is an act of terrorism against the Matrix. The false guru syndrome, why you must not teach. Once you master manifestation in silence and start accumulating obscene victories, you will fall into the last trap of the spiritual ego. You will feel the moral duty to teach others how you did it. You will want to sit your family down to explain the law of assumption. This is the false guru syndrome. It is your ego trying to put on the savior's robe. Do not do it. It is a strict tactical order. Shut your mouth. Do not throw pearls before swine. If you try to explain quantum physics to a slave who enjoys his role as a victim in the 3D world, they will bite your hand, they will mock you. They will argue logically in favor of their own limitations. Worst of all, by trying to evangelize them, you will enter into a debate with them, and their frequency of misery will infect your auric field. The sovereign creator does not evangelize the sleeping. His only teaching is his own ruthless example, the paradox of complete emptiness. By applying the hermetic seal to every corner of your life, you will have completed the architecture of your black box. You do not justify yourself. You do not talk to fill silences. You ignore parasites. You disappear tactically to generate obsession. You are unpredictable. You transmit orders with your mind. You have completely emptied yourself of the reactive behaviors of the human slave. You have stopped doing things to try to change the world, and you have started not doing, so that the world reorganizes itself around your gravity. But total vacuum, absolute tactical isolation is not the end of the road. It is only the preparation room. It is the decompression chamber before going out into the outer space of pure existence. Mastery, the final level of the law of assumption pyramid, demands the destruction of the boundary between the observer and the technique. Chapter 10, The Black Hole. Mastery of absolute magnetism, the collapse of desire and the singularity of the creator. You have reached the peak of the pyramid. You have crossed the hell of three-dimensional noise and purged your nervous system. You learned to price your attention in solid gold. You extirpated the pathetic vice of giving explanations. You used the killer pause to freeze your adversaries and the guillotine to amputate parasites. You wrapped yourself in the impenetrable mystery of the black box. You hacked the minds of avatars with quantum telepathy and shielded your miracles in absolute darkness. You possess a tactical arsenal that would terrify any sociopath and fascinate any mystic. You are lethal. But here I'm going to tell you the hardest truth of this manual. As long as you continue using silence as a technique, you remain a beginner. As long as you use absence to try to manipulate an ex, or mystery to try to close a sale, you are still giving reality to the illusion. You still believe that the physical world has something you need. Today you are going to drop your weapons. You will stop being the tactical warrior to become the most destructive and inescapable astronomical phenomenon in the cosmos. Welcome to the singularity. Welcome to the black hole. The fatigue of the tactical ego. Everything you have practiced until this chapter requires energy. It requires you to be alert. It requires you to measure your response times, calculate your pauses, and monitor your body language. That effort is necessary at the beginning. It is the training wheel for a mind that was used to vomiting words and emotions without control. But sustained effort is tiring. If you live the rest of your life millimetrically calculating how to ignore others to appear mysterious, you will exhaust yourself. Your tactical ego will suffer a heart attack. The sovereign creator makes no effort. Effort is mathematical proof that you do not believe you are the owner of reality. He who exerts effort doubts. Absolute mastery is not acting silent. It is not acting mysterious. Absolute mastery is an internal collapse where the desire to interact with the hologram dies completely. The anatomy of the singularity. Astrophysics tells us that a black hole is born when a massive star exhausts all its fuel. The star collapses onto its own center of gravity with indescribable violence. It compresses so much that its density becomes infinite. In that process, it creates a monstrous gravitational field that nothing, not even light, can escape. The black hole does not have to make an effort to attract planets. It does not go out hunting stars. It does not use quantum manipulation tactics. It simply exists. It sits at the center of the galaxy, immovable, silent, and dark. By pure physical inertia, all matter in the universe is forced to orbit around it and fall into its jaws. You have to collapse. You have to exhaust all the fuel of your need for validation. You have to stop emitting light to try to please or impress the matrix. The death of desire, absolute satiety. The final secret of magnetism is not desiring something with great force. Desiring something strongly makes you a quantum repellent. The secret of magnetism is absolute satiety. It is the annihilation of desire. As long as you desire that specific person, Your energy is reaching toward them. You project a ray of need that pushes them away. But when you reach the state of the black hole, desire disappears. You look in the mirror and realize you already contain the entire universe inside your ribcage. You feel a fullness so dense, so obscene, and so deep that the idea of needing a human or a stack of bills to be happy becomes physically repugnant to you. You are full of yourself. You have swallowed your own divinity. And when you fill yourself with yourself, the tactical vacuum you project to the outside becomes infinite. The effect of passive gravity. When you reach this satiety, you stop applying techniques. You stop counting 10 seconds before responding. You simply respond when you feel like it, because the time of others is irrelevant to you. You stop tactical ghosting. You simply stop answering because the conversation bores you and you prefer to look at the ceiling. Your silence is no longer a weapon. It is your natural ecosystem. It is the organic consequence of your vibrational superiority, and it is here where the most aggressive magic of the law of assumption occurs. By desiring nothing, by pursuing nothing, your gravitational mass becomes colossal. The people you previously ignored tactically will now feel that you are no longer playing with them. They will feel that you have genuinely forgotten them, and that biological terror will force them to launch themselves toward you like meteorites crashing into a planet. Crossing the event horizon. In black hole physics, there exists an invisible boundary called the event horizon. It is the point of no return. Once something crosses that line, it can never leave. When you embody absolute magnetism, you create an event horizon around your physical aura. People will approach you out of curiosity. They will see your silence. They will see your unshakable peace. They will approach to try to decipher you. And without realizing it, they will cross your event horizon. The moment they interact with your frequency of non-resistance, they will be trapped in your gravity. They will become addicted to your peaceful presence. They will want to tell you their darkest secrets without you asking. They will offer you multi-million-dollar contracts just to have the privilege of associating with your energy. They will not be able to pull away. If they try, the dissonance of returning to the noisy world will suffocate them, and they will run back to your orbit. Neutrality as the supreme weapon. The human ego operates in extremes: love or hate, euphoria or depression. The ego loves drama because drama makes it feel alive. The black hole operates in absolute neutrality. Neutrality is the highest, most destructive, and most incomprehensible vibrational state for the matrix. Someone says, "I love you with all my soul." The slave cries with emotion. The sovereign in the black hole state smiles slightly, nods and says, "I know." Someone says, "I hate you. You are the worst person in the world." The slave becomes enraged. The sovereign smiles slightly, nods and says, "I know." Your reaction to extreme adoration and extreme hatred is the same. Neutrality. That is true invulnerability. When neither praise lifts you from the ground nor insults sink you, the whole world loses its power over you. You become an untouchable dictator. Divine boredom, the symptom of mastery. The personal development industry promises that if you achieve success, you will live in a state of constant ecstasy. You will jump out of bed every day screaming with happiness. What exhausting nonsense! Euphoric happiness is a chemical peak, and every peak demands a brutal fall by the law of rhythm, V. The real symptom that you have reached the mastery of the black hole is not euphoria. It is divine boredom. It is a peace so monumental, so thick and so unalterable that it feels almost boring. You see your bank account overflowing with money, and it does not excite you because you already assumed it was yours years ago. You see your ideal partner at your side and do not feel anxiety about losing them because you know they are a hologram responding to your decree. This boredom is not depression. It is the tranquility of the architect who finished building the universe and now simply sits to watch the stars spin. It is the Sabbath. The illusion of interaction. When you are a black hole, you continue operating in the 3D world. You still go to buy coffee. You still go to business meetings. You still have sexual relations. But there is an abysmal difference. You know you are interacting with yourself. When you speak to another, you no longer see a separate other. You see your own subconscious disguised in another suit of flesh. If the person in front of you is angry, you do not defend yourself because you know you are seeing a delayed echo of your own past fears. If the person praises you, you do not inflate with pride because you know you are simply congratulating yourself. By eliminating the illusion of separation, conflict becomes mathematically impossible. How are you going to argue with yourself in a mirror? How are you going to beg for love from your own reflection? Silence becomes your default state because there is no one real out there worth arguing with. The disintegration of the how. The novice student of the law of assumption suffers horrors trying to control the how. If they decree wealth, they spend sleepless nights designing business strategies and marketing plans. They believe their 3D brain has to orchestrate the logistics of the miracle. The black hole does not make logistical plans. Gravity does not have a business plan to attract a meteorite. It simply attracts it, period. When you reach this density, the how disappears from your dictionary. You dictate the what, the end result, in the machine room of your mind, and you completely disregard the mechanics. You go to sleep or go play. You let the unified field break the laws of physics, collapse governments, move people across continents, and alter the fabric of space-time to put your desire in your palm. Your only job is to maintain the gravitational mass of your certainty in silence. The power of nothingness, wu-wei. The ancient Taoist masters spoke of wu-wei, the art of doing without doing, effortless action. In modern society, this sounds like laziness. The matrix demands sweat, tears, and stress to consider you a valuable individual. The sovereign creator offends the matrix by practicing quantum wu-wei. You do not do things to get results. You are the result, and action flows from you automatically. When you have to make a business decision, you do not make lists of pros and cons. You sit in silence for 10 minutes. You let the mental noise evaporate. From that cold black vacuum, a clear, sharp order emerges. You follow that order without hesitation, even if it defies all financial logic, and you make millions the next day. You have stopped thinking with the biological brain and started thinking with the universal mind. And the universal mind does not use words. It uses pure knowledge. The implosion of toxic empathy. To sustain the black hole state, you have to purge the last residue of human weakness, toxic empathy. You have been taught that being empathetic is suffering when the other suffers. If you do that, you are a sponge absorbing the world's vibrational trash. The true master is empathetic from the fifth dimension. If someone comes to you crying over a tragedy, you do not go down into their pit to cry with them. You remain on your throne in absolute silence and observe them from above. In your mind, you ignore their tragedy and visualize them healthy and strong. You do not validate their illness. You do not validate their poverty. By denying them your pity and holding your immovable silence, you act as an electromagnetic beacon. Their frequency of misery will crash against your ice wall, and they will be forced to rise to your level to interact with you. You are the most powerful healer because you refuse to recognize the disease. The paradox of isolation and total connection. Here lies the final paradox of your transformation. Throughout this book, I have taught you to isolate yourself, to cut ties, to apply the guillotine, to hide in the black box. You have built a titanium wall around you. And the cosmic paradox is that by isolating yourself from the 3D world, you connect with the all. By stop begging for physical and emotional connection with dead avatars, you have turned on the direct Wi-Fi connection with the source of all creation. You are more alone than ever in the human world, but more accompanied than ever in the quantum fabric. People will feel this connection. Paradoxically, the more you isolate yourself, the more people will want to be near you, because they will see in you the sovereignty and the connection with the divine that they lost by becoming slaves to the noise. The gaze of the abyss. Friedrich Nietzsche said, "If you gaze long into an abyss, the abyss also gazes into you." Humanity is terrified of the abyss. They are terrified of absolute silence, total darkness, and the void, because that is where the ego dies and deceptions crumble. You no longer look at the abyss, you are the abyss. When someone looks you in the eyes, they will no longer see a frightened human seeking validation. They will see infinity. They will see their own fears reflected in your bone-chilling tranquility. Your gaze no longer asks for permission. Your gaze strips kings and forces cowards to lower their heads. And you do it without emitting a single sound. Your physical presence becomes the ultimate argument. You are the last word in any debate, simply because you refuse to participate in it. The closing of the cycle, the unbreakable monster. You have completed the metamorphosis. You have transcended the attention economy. You have mastered the language of the servant. You executed the pause and the void. You seduced through absence and hacked minds with predatory telepathy. You bled in private and hid your miracles in the lead vault. The reactive human you were 10 chapters ago is officially dead and buried. In its place, a magnetic singularity of incalculable power remains. The magnetism of silence is not a tool to get a partner or earn money. Those are childish consequences, crumbs that fall from the table of your true achievement. The magnetism of silence is the path toward the absolute emancipation of your soul. It is the empirical demonstration that you are not a victim of chance, nor a slave to the opinions of others. You are the infinite intelligence experiencing itself through a lethal lens. You are the God in the machine room, the final dictation. From this instant, your life will never again be a debate. If the 3D world presents you with scarcity, disease, or rejection, you do not scream. You do not fight against the cinema screen. You withdraw to your throne. You turn off the noise. You inhale the dark vacuum of the cosmos. And from the crushing density of your own center of gravity, you emit the only order that physical matter is obliged to obey, the silent decree of your immovable certainty. Let the world collapse around you. Let the avatars run desperate. Let the matrix burn trying to find your cracks. You simply smile, lean back in your chair, bring your index finger to your lips and command the entire universe to be silent. The game is over. You won. Conclusion. Shut your mouth and claim your throne. The training is over. The architecture of silence has been exposed before your eyes. You now hold in your hands the exact blueprints to hack the nervous system of the matrix and bend the will of the avatars. But theory without violent execution is just intellectual masturbation. Reading this book and returning to your life tomorrow to complain to your friends, justify yourself to your boss, or beg for attention from your ex-partner makes you a cosmic fraud. If after this reading you open your mouth again to give an excuse that no one asked for, you deserve the life sentence of three-dimensional mediocrity. You deserve the pity that will be spat in your face. This is the ultimate ultimatum. From this damn millisecond, the complacent jester that lived in your throat is officially dead. You have just signed his death certificate. You are no longer an open book. You are no longer the crying towel for the tribe. You are no longer the validation vending machine that gives away its vital energy to the first parasite that smiles at it. You have become a lead vault. You are the black box. You are the black hole. Society is going to hate your new version. They are going to call you arrogant, insensitive, calculating, and selfish. Let them insult you. Their insults are the desperate screams of a herd that has just realized that the wolf no longer wears a leash. The hatred of slaves is the medal of honor of the sovereign creator. When they criticize you for your coldness, look them in the eyes, apply the 10-second killer pause, and enjoy their suffocation. Bite your tongue until you taste blood if necessary. If you have $1 million project in hand, hide it. If your ego is shattered by failure, hide in the cave of solitude and swallow your own poison. If someone disrespects you, do not argue. Execute the guillotine of attention and erase them from your hologram forever. True power is not announced. It is imposed by its simple gravitational mass. When you stop chasing, everything you ever desired is forced to chase you by pure electromagnetic inertia. Stop trying to convince the world of your worth. Verbal effort is the undeniable signature of losers. Turn on the quantum machine in your chest. From today, your battles are no longer fought in the mud of the physical world. They are won in the underground darkness of your subconscious mind. You are going to command, seduce, destroy, and create empires using only predatory telepathy. Your unwavering assumption is the only voice the universe is forced to hear and obey. The world is full of cheap noise. Be the silence that terrifies. Be the mystery that obsesses. Be the unreachable entity that everyone tries to decipher and that absolutely no one can touch. The speeches are over. The debates are over. Stand up, adjust your invisible crown, and enter the room. Shut your mouth, hold the gaze, and force the entire universe to kneel before your silence.